Chapter 2487. Don't worry, I'm fine. This is my method. With the power of virtue protecting his body, it was not too easy to absorb the darkness aura. Night Sorrow simply put away the power of virtue. The current him already looked like he was completely shrouded by the darkness aura, as if he had transformed into a humanoid, soul-devouring beast. It was no wonder that Yun Tianyi was worried. After replying to Yun Tianyi, Night Sorrow began to prepare his next attack. If the soul-devouring Beast King was not injured, he would definitely be asking for trouble by using soul control. And in the Divine Lord Jinyuan's abode, he could not use spatial artifacts. He could not take out the Divine Soul Recovery Pill to recover his body. Therefore, the 7-star rampage could not be used at will. Hence, the attack power against the half-step Divine Lord was a little weaker. Looking at it now, I can only use this move. Thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow simply steeled his heart and fused the Inferno Demon subduing spear into the heavenly Samsara halberd. After the two fused, the newly formed heavenly Samsara halberd was still mainly reincarnation attribute. However, the spear body became emerald green and covered in blazing flames. Try my Samsara strike. After fusing the new heavenly Samsara halberd, Night Sorrow casually waved and fired an attack at the half-step Divine Lord Realm Soul-Devouring Beast King. This spear contained a very powerful reincarnation attribute. It instantly dropped the Soul-Devouring Beast King's strength to high god level. Yun Tianyi, use your strongest move to attack it. Now is a good opportunity. Night Sorrow, who succeeded in one attack, expended quite a lot of energy. He needed a certain amount of time to recover his divine essence energy. He could only let Yun Tianyi attack the soul-devouring Beast King. All right, I'll try my best. Hearing this, Yun Tianyi did not hesitate at all and unleashed her trump card Mystic Art. She burned her bloodline power, raising her cultivation several times, and once again displayed the phaseless sword formation. Yun Tianyi's phaseless sword formation locked onto the soul-devouring Beast King once more and shot out sword energy continuously. The soul-devouring Beast King's aura immediately weakened greatly. Now, protect me. The soul-devouring Beast King's aura had clearly weakened. Night Sorrow realized that his chance had come. He shouted at Yun Tianyi and used his dark aura to control the soul-devouring Beast King's soul. Originally, the soul-devouring Beast King's divine soul was very powerful, and Night Sorrow was far from being its match. However, it had been reduced by a level by the power of reincarnation, and it needed to control its divine soul to resist Yun Tianyi's non-phase sword array. In this period of time, their strength was already infinitely close. Night Sorrow, who had experience in soul control several times, once again used the power of merit against the soul-devouring Beast King. This was done to defend against the other soul-devouring beasts and also to disturb the soul-devouring Beast King. No matter what kind of dark creature it was, they would all be wary of the power of merit. This was an unchanging truth. Are you using darkness control on a creature of darkness? Yun Tianyi, who had ignited his bloodline to increase his strength, was a little weak. However, after confirming that Night Sorrow was using soul control, he immediately understood what to do. He swore to guard Night Sorrow with his life, not allowing any soul-devouring beast to approach. Yun Tianyi needed to continuously ignite his bloodline power to do this, which consumed a lot of energy. But if he did not persevere, Night Sorrow would be disturbed by the soul-devouring beast and would definitely fail at the last step. Then, both of them would die. This soul-devouring beast divine soul power doesn't seem to be as powerful as I imagined. At the same time, Night Sorrow, who was locked in a stalemate with the soul-devouring Beast King's soul, discovered that the soul-devouring Beast King's soul seemed to be incomplete. This discovery was of great help to him. In the stalemate, Night Sorrow mocked, "You're not complete. If I'm not wrong, you've already been beaten into several parts." Doing this was naturally to disturb the soul-devouring Beast King's mind. Now that the two souls were entangled together, A single thought would be sensed by the other party. Human, your tricks won't be able to disturb this king. This king will successfully control you. Since ancient times, soul-devouring beasts had always controlled cultivators. This was the first time the soul-devouring beast king encountered a situation where its mind was controlled by a human cultivator. Naturally, it would not give up so easily. However, Knight Soro's guess was not wrong. Its soul had indeed been scattered. Right now, only a small part was left, which was why it had the strength of a half-step Divine Lord. Just now, you said that you wanted to challenge Divine Lord Jin Yuan. It seems like you should have been an invincible Divine Lord at your peak. However, you were already defeated by Divine Lord Jin Yuan and split into your current state. Recalling the soul-devouring Beast King's words when it first came out, Knight Soro quickly made his own judgment. Nonsense, you're talking nonsense. The moment Knight Soro said that, the soul-devouring Beast King immediately recalled how it was beaten up by Divine Lord Jin Yuan. Its soul began to tremble violently, and its body swayed nonstop. Order the other soul-devouring beasts to stop. Taking advantage of the soul-devouring Beast King's soul fluctuation, Knight Soro completely controlled it and issued an order. Warriors of the soul-devouring beast clan, listen to this king's order and stop attacking. The soul-devouring beast king, who was controlled by Knight Soro, immediately issued an order obediently. Under its order, all the soul-devouring beasts stopped attacking. Yin Tianyi, how are you? After controlling the soul-devouring beast king, Knight Soro immediately recovered. However, he saw that Yin Tianyi's aura was extremely weak. Knight Soro, who helped Yin Tianyi up, used the power of merit to disperse the dark aura around him. I'm exhausted. I need to leave the cave and take some elixirs to consume. Yin Tianyi had a special elixir on her, but she could not take it out now. All right, hold on a little longer. I'll think of a way. After speaking to Yin Tianyi, Knight Soro ordered the soul-devouring beast king, let all the soul-devouring beasts kill each other. Just now, he read some of the soul-devouring beast king's soul and knew that its soul was indeed shattered by the Divine Lord Jin Yuan and split into several parts. It was the true king of the soul-devouring beast clan. The other soul-devouring beasts would obey any order it gave. Yes, the soul-devouring beast king, who was controlled by Knight Soro, immediately obeyed the order. Under its order, tens of thousands of soul-devouring beasts began to kill each other crazily. Their numbers also rapidly decreased. It's still too slow. You go and fight too. No, you make them stop. In the soul-devouring beast king's memory, there was no exit to this small world. Knight Soro, who originally wanted the soul-devouring beast king to order all the soul-devouring beasts to self-destruct, suddenly thought of a way to get out. He took Yin Tianyi and hid at the edge of the small world. Then, he let the soul-devouring beast king order the other soul-devouring beasts to gather at the other edge of the small world and self-destruct together. Bang! 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 With so many soul-devouring beasts gathered at one point, the power of their self-destruction could be imagined. The originally stable, small world suddenly had a hole blown open. You can also take care of it yourself. Self-destruct. Originally, there were hundreds of millions of soul-devouring beasts, but now there was only one soul-devouring beast king left. Knight Soro hesitated for a moment, gave up the idea of controlling it, and let it self-destruct. With a loud bang, the soul-devouring beast king also exploded into nothingness. At the same time, a tall shadow appeared in front of Knight Soro and Yin Tianyi. Divine Lord Jin Yuan? Chapter 2488. I'm just a phantom image left behind by the Divine Lord in this world. Upon hearing Knight Soro's shout, Divine Lord Jin Yuan's phantom image immediately sighed. I actually saw the legendary Divine Lord Jin Yuan. Yin Tianyi, who was originally in a bad state, immediately had a clear look in his eyes. Although it was just a phantom image of Divine Lord Jin Yuan in front of him, he was still very excited. After all, it was rare to see an invincible Divine Lord. I stayed here to give you your rewards. You killed so many soul-devouring beasts and deserve the soul-strengthening elixir and this elixir recipe." With a wave of his hand, Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom image threw out an elixir recipe and a soul-strengthening elixir. "Thank you, Divine Lord." Upon seeing the elixir recipe and soul-strengthening elixir floating in the air, Knight Sorrow thanked him before looking at Yin Tianyi and saying, "You can choose first. Leave the rest to me. I choose the soul-strengthening elixir. It can strengthen the soul and is very useful to me." Yin Tianyi was not interested in alchemy. Without hesitation, he chose the soul-strengthening elixir. The elixir recipe of the soul-strengthening elixir? Knight Sorrow, who took the elixir recipe, laughed when he saw the name of the elixir recipe. Yin Tianyi chose fish, but what he received was a fish. With the elixir recipe of the soul-strengthening elixir, he did not have to worry about a lack of soul-strengthening elixir in the future. "I don't have much time. What do you want to ask? How about this? Each of you ask a question, and I'll try my best to answer." After Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom image threw out the soul-strengthening elixir and the elixir recipe, it clearly became more transparent and would probably disappear soon. "You can ask first." Knight Sorrow already had a question in mind, but he let Yin Tianyi ask first. Upon hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Yin Tianyi thought for a moment before asking, "Divine Lord, are you still alive?" This question surprised Knight Sorrow. He originally thought that Yin Tianyi would ask about the opportunities in the cave abode. Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom image hesitated for a moment before saying, I definitely died back then. I'm not sure if I'm alive or dead now." "Oh, in that case, there's a possibility of God's sovereign Jinyuan reviving?" Yin Tianyi's eyes lit up when she got the answer. "You think too much. What I mean is that this phantom has always been in the small world and doesn't know what's going on in the outside world. I believe that the real Divine Lord Jinyuan has already perished. What remains in the world should only be a few phantoms." After saying that, the phantom turned even dimmer. At this moment, he looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Ask away. I would like to ask Divine Lord, where is the letter you left for Senior Long Tianqing?" Without any hesitation, Yishan asked directly, "Tianqing? How is she now?" Hearing this, the phantom image of Sir God, Jinyin, clearly trembled. Senior Long's condition is still all right. Knight Sorrow told him about Long Tianqing's situation and their karma. "I have let her down." The phantom image of Sir God Jinyuan seemed to be immersed in his memories. After a while, he became so dim that he was almost invisible. Finally, he sighed and said, "The letter is in my coffin. My coffin is in the deepest part of the cave abode." This time, the phantom image of Sir God Jinyuan did not address himself as the real Divine Lord Jinyuan. After saying that, he completely dissipated into the air. At this moment, Yin Tianyi's condition was very bad. Knight Sorrow helped her out of the cave abode and found a secluded corner to set up a concealment array so that she could recover. Knight Sorrow took out some elixirs that he often used and placed them in an ordinary medicine bottle. He hung on his belt. Sir God Jinyuan said that the letter was in his coffin and the coffin was in the deepest part of the cave abode. Knight Sorrow decided that the next time he entered, he would not deliberately look for opportunities. Instead, he would go straight to the deepest part of the cave abode. To him, obtaining the letter and obtaining information about how to save his family was more important than anything else. "Oh, someone is coming." Knight Sorrow was not seriously injured. While Yin Tianyi was recovering, he had been guarding her and did not cultivate. While Yin Tianyi was recovering, Knight Sorrow saw Mingyi's daughter, Mingyu, enter the cave abode with an invincible feather god and 5 or 6 cultivators who were close to the level of an invincible feather god. Mingyu, who had just become a half-step high god, was obviously not as strong as Lin and Mo. However, after entering the cave abode, she did not come out. She must have a way to protect herself. That invincible feather god is obviously much stronger than Yin Tianyi. I wonder who he is. The invincible feather god that Mingyu had brought with her was definitely not the one that Zhuang he had mentioned. Knight Sorrow could not guess his identity. However, if Yin Tianyi was awake, she would definitely recognize him. He was Yin Jiannan, ranked 27th on the Feather God list. This Yin Jiannan came from the martial god sect of the Heartless Divine Realm. He was Ming Yu's senior brother. Although he was in the Heartless Divine Realm, he was not from there. More people are coming. Not long after Ming Yu and the others entered, Mingyi's military advisor, King Mingzi, brought Mingyi's son, Mingjue, and 2 other invincible feather gods into the cave abode. They were in a hurry and seemed to be traveling at night. Because they were in a hurry to enter, they did not discover Yishang's concealment formation. Mingyi's daughter and son know that Wuxin's 3 invincible feather gods have entered. They even invited reinforcements. This is going to be a fight to the death. If I'm not mistaken, the reinforcements they invited must be stronger than Wuxin's 3 invincible feather gods. Although Night Sorrow did not know who Ming Yu and Mingjue had invited, he knew that they were not weak. There are more people? No, this is the aura of a divine lord. Just then, Night Sorrow sensed an extremely dangerous aura. Without hesitation, he dragged Yun Tianyi into the cave abode. As soon as they disappeared into the cave abode, a huge handprint slammed toward them. It crashed into the cave abode with a boom. Why are there more divine lords here? The trip to the cave abode was getting more and more complicated. Night Sorrow waited for Yun Tianyi to wake up and tell him what he had seen. With a divine lord here, we can't leave the cave abode easily. If I had known, I would have taken out more elixirs. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yun Tianyi sighed and asked, Night Sorrow, how strong are you? If we encounter those people inside, do we have a chance of winning? After absorbing the soul-strengthening elixir, Yun Tianyi's divine soul had become much stronger. However, he was still weaker than some of the invincible feather gods who had entered. Hearing this, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, I don't know their true strength, but we should be able to escape unscathed. Now that he had the soul recovery elixir, he could use the 7-star Violent Alcade and master the vanishing Shadow Void escape. Night Sorrow felt that no matter what kind of feather god realm genius he encountered, he would be able to put up a fight. Then I know. Yun Tianyi smiled and said, they've all gone in. Let's go. Let's go. Night Sorrow nodded and walked into the cave abode with Yun Tianyi. Chapter 2489. The sounds of fighting came from the hall. Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi were blocked in the passage. Let's go check it out. Be careful and control your aura. Night Sorrow instructed Yun Tianyi. Then, he concealed his aura and went to the exit of the passage. God Jin Yuan's projection had said that the letter was in the coffin in the deepest part of the cave. Night Sorrow did not want to be delayed by anyone. He wanted to see if there was a chance to go over. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Yun Tianyi was mediocre compared to Night Sorrow, but she was still a genius on the God of Feathers list. His concealment skills were quite good. He followed behind Yishang and quietly crept up. The 2 of them hid at the entrance of the passage. They looked around and realized that the 2 parties fighting were Ming Yu and Ming Ju. They were fighting near the stone pillar in the center of the hall. Qing Mingzi stood awkwardly at the side and tried to persuade them. Although he had come in with Ming Ju, he was Ming He's military advisor and could not attack Ming Yu. Ming Yu, who was dressed in black, and Ming Ju, who was dressed in white, were fighting fiercely. Although they were brother and sister, they had the same father but different mothers. Their mothers hated each other, so they had fought each other since they were young. Both of them had just broken through to the half-step Great God Realm, and their defensive robes and divine weapons were more or less the same. They were evenly matched in battle. However, there were also saber lights and sword shadows, and danger was everywhere. Qing Mingzi was so anxious that he was jumping. But no matter how he tried to persuade them, they ignored him and continued to fight. They did not look like brother and sister at all. On the other side, Yan Jiannan, who was ranked 27th on the God of Feathers list, was leading 5 cultivators who were close to the invincible divine Feather Realm. They were fighting against 2 invincible divine Feather Realm cultivators. Both sides were fighting fiercely, but they were holding back. They did not intend to fight to the death. They were evenly matched. Actually, with their strength and status, they did not need to give face to Ming Yu and Ming Ju. But this opportunity was brought by the two siblings. They had to pretend. The battle was in full swing, but there wasn't much sweat, and neither side was really injured. Why are these two siblings fighting as soon as they come in? What a hindrance. Night Sorrow had never seen Ming Yu before, but from Qing Mingzi's reaction, he understood that Ming He's children were fighting. It's actually Yin Jiannan, Huang Lai, and Yin Samping. The three of them are ranked 27th, 41st, and 48th on the Divine Feathers list, respectively. Yin Tianyi was shocked when she saw the two sides fighting. Night Sorrow said, "These are the top 10 Feather God experts in the Dark Moon's territory. It seems that our trip to the cave won't be too smooth." Yin Tianyi had an arrogant and unruly personality. It was very difficult for ordinary people to make him submit willingly. However, now that so many Feather God realm experts had appeared, and they were all much stronger than him, this made him a little depressed. He felt that he had become a burden. Don't worry, it's not all about strength to find opportunities in the cave. Besides, we're not bad in terms of strength. So far, Night Sorrow had learned that the opponents were Shangwan Hai's group and Ming He's children's group. Their strength was about the same. In comparison, he and Yin Tianyi were not weak. However, they would only know the specific situation after they fought. Besides, there might be other experts that they did not know about. These were all variables. No one was 100% sure that they could come out on top. This is the first time that I, Yin Tianyi, have been a burden to others. This feeling is really terrible. Yin Tianyi had always been the top genius among the elites cultivated by the Dark Alliance. He was not used to the current situation. You can't think like that. You did very well in the small world just now. You didn't hold us back at all. Don't deny it. Besides, even if you're weaker, you can still turn the tables if you get the inheritance of the Divine Lord. Otherwise, all the opportunities in the cave will be taken by the strongest. Seeing that Yin Tianyi was a little negative, Night Sorrow comforted her. Fighting for treasures was indeed related to luck. Strength was very important, but sometimes it could not play a decisive role. After being comforted, Yin Tianyi obviously felt better and no longer worried about this matter. Looking at the two sides fighting, he said, "This hall is clear at a glance. There is no cover at all. It's not convenient for us to go over. What should we do next? Should we just keep watching?" Of course we can't keep watching. Shangwan Hai's group has been in there for a long time. We can follow them, but we can't fall too far behind. Otherwise, the big opportunities inside may be taken by them. Night Sorrow's purpose was to get the letter in the deepest part of the cave. It was okay to fall behind a little, but definitely not too far behind. After thinking for a while, he said, "Let's go out and stop the fight." Stop the fight? Won't we be exposed? Isn't it better for us to stay in the dark? Yin Tianyi asked, puzzled. She felt that Night Sorrow's choice was a little risky. We're not weak. There's no need to hide. Instead of watching them fight, why don't we think of a way to stop them? Night Sorrow, who was confident in his own strength, stood up and walked to Qing Mingzi. He smiled and shouted, "Mr. Qing Mingzi, so you're here too. Master Night Sorrow, it's you? You're not affected by the soul-devouring evil wind?" The moment he saw Night Sorrow, Qing Mingzi was obviously a little stunned. His and Mingyi's children relied on the defensive robes of large sects to withstand the impact of the soul-devouring evil wind. He could not figure out how Night Sorrow, a middle-level feather god, could stand in the cave. In his opinion, Night Sorrow should have been plundered by the high god Feng Shaoyun until he was penniless. That was why he could keep his life. I was lucky to get a robe that can withstand the soul-devouring evil wind. Night Sorrow said perfunctorily and asked, "Mr. Qing Mingzi, why are the children of Lord Mingyi fighting together?" It's a long story. When Yishang had first appeared, both sides of the battle had used their soul power to investigate him. They found that Night Sorrow was only a middle-level feather god and knew Qing Mingzi. They treated him as heir and continued to fight fiercely. Only Ming Yu saw Night Sorrow's figure, and his eyes lit up. He shouted, "Master Night Sorrow, help me kill Ming Yu. We'll split any gains from this trip equally." She had seen Night Sorrow use the Samsara halberd to fight against the forbidden feather divine weapon in the Jubal Pavilion. According to her judgment, although Night Sorrow was not strong enough to deal with an invincible feather god, as long as he used the forbidden feather divine weapon, he would definitely be able to deal with Mingyu. I'm sorry. I'm indebted to Lord Mingyi and can't attack his son. Of course, it's the same for you. Chapter 2490. How long have they been inside? Yin Jiannan, who was in the middle of a battle, immediately shouted when he heard Night Sorrow's words. To him, the opportunities in the cave were more important. He wasn't interested in meaningless battles. They should have been inside for 2 or 3 years. Yin Tianyi slowly walked to Night Sorrow's side and replied on his behalf, blending into the crowd. Actually, 2 or 3 years was a short time in the heavenly realm, but no one wanted to fall behind. Hearing this, both sides were obviously anxious, but they were more concerned about Yin Tianyi, an expert on the Feather God list. Yin Tianyi's appearance immediately made both sides wary. Although she was only ranked 100 on the Feather God list, the balance would be broken no matter which side she joined. If the balance was broken, there would definitely be casualties if the battle continued. These people didn't see Night Sorrow's true strength, but they saw Yin Tianyi as a delicious cake. Yin Tianyi, come and help me. After we get out, I will give you a lot of resources. I guarantee that you will move up at least 10 places on the Feather God list. There were only a dozen experts on the Feather God list in the Dark Moon region, and they all knew each other. Yin Jiannan, who was ranked the highest, immediately shouted at Yin Tianyi. Yin Tianyi wasn't much a threat to him, but she could be a disruptor. This made him feel a little pressured. It didn't matter if he didn't kill anyone, but Yin Jiannan naturally didn't want to be killed. Yin Tianyi, join us. Lingxi, the Divine King, will be your support in the future. Huang Lai, who was ranked 41st on the Feather God list, immediately made a promise when he saw that Yin Jiannan wanted to recruit Yin Tianyi. In the Dark Moon region, the Divine King was undoubtedly the most powerful existence apart from the high and mighty ruler. Using the Divine King as bait was obviously more tempting than using Yin Jiannan. Upon hearing this, Yin Jiannan immediately said, Yin Tianyi, I, Yin Jiannan, not only have the Divine King behind me, but also the entire divine martial arts sect. Think about it carefully. The Divine King Gate is located in the Heartless Divine Domain. Is the Heartless Divine King behind you? Upon hearing Yin Jiannan's words, Yin Tianyi, who originally had no intention of attacking, unconsciously released a murderous aura. The Divine King Wu Xian had dealt a heavy blow to Hai Bei City. His father was one of those who had been suppressed, and now his whereabouts were unknown. What? You want to kill me? Yin Jiannan, who was fighting, didn't look at Yin Tianyi, but he could feel the murderous aura coming from him. Immediately, a trace of anger rose in him. However, when he thought of Yin Tianyi's words, Yin Jiannan suddenly laughed and said, There's no harm in telling you. Although I'm in the Heartless Divine Domain, the Divine King behind me is someone else. You can feel at ease and join my side. Yin Jiannan wasn't stupid at all. He could feel that Yin Tianyi's murderous aura was targeted at the Divine King, not him. Moreover, he didn't dare to anger Yin Tianyi at all. Join our side, and you'll definitely get more benefits. For example, Yin Samping, who was beside Huang Lai, also tried to persuade him. He was more eloquent, and he endlessly promised many rewards. Forget it. It's better for a small fry like me to not participate in the fight between the two of you. Otherwise, you might not die, but I'll die anyway. At this moment, Yin Tianyi heard Night Sorrow's telepathic message and didn't continue to pester him. After saying that, he walked into the depths of the cave. Night Sorrow, who had been chatting with Qing Mingzi, saw Yin Tianyi walk away. He looked at Qing Mingzi apologetically and said, I have to go. After saying that, Night Sorrow immediately followed after him. So you become someone's lackey. But it seems like you're not strong enough. It's easy to break. Mingyu, who had been rejected by Night Sorrow, said coldly when he saw him quickly chasing after Yin Tianyi. Mingyu was very vengeful. The next time they met, she would ask her helpers to kill Night Sorrow directly. "Young masters, please stop. We're here to snatch the opportunity. If you continue fighting, there won't be any soup left." The only idle person was Qing Mingzi. He was only an upper-level feather god. He was the weakest person present. If he wasn't proficient in Array Dao, he wouldn't even be qualified to enter. Seeing Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi leave, he couldn't stop them at all. He could only shout at Ming Yu and Ming Ju. If they continued fighting, it wouldn't benefit anyone. Hearing Qing Mingzi's words, Ming Yu and Ming Ju gradually separated. The others also returned to their own camps. This battle was considered to have come to an end. After that, they left the main hall and walked into the depths of the cave. After they left, Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi returned to the main hall. Just like the passageway, let's look for clues carefully and see if we can find anything in the main hall. After returning to the main hall, Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi said a few words. Then, they started to look for clues in the main hall. At this moment, Yun Tianyi asked curiously, "I remember that when we first came to this main hall, many skeleton puppets spawned near the stone pillars. Why are they gone now?" The place where the two groups were fighting was where the skeletons were originally spawned. Now, not a single skeleton could be seen. This was obviously strange. I feel that there are three possibilities. The first possibility is that the projection of the Divine Lord Jin Yuan helped us to remove the skeletons. These are obviously created by him, but this possibility is not high. The second possibility is that there's an array in the main hall that controls the skeleton's respawn, but it was destroyed by Ming Yu or Ming Ju. Night Sorrow naturally observed this situation. After explaining, he said in a more serious tone, "The third possibility is that the energy of the cave has weakened and is not enough to support the operation of some array. Therefore, the skeletons can't respawn. If this is the last possibility, we have to hurry if we want to seize the opportunity. Okay, let's search this main hall as soon as possible." Yun Tianyi, who had already obtained benefit from the circular passageway and seen the projection of the Divine Lord Jin Yuan, did the same thing in the main hall. However, after the two of them searched carefully for 2 hours, Night Sorrow was the first to discover the situation. He used the power of his divine soul to investigate. In a stone that had been blown off by the soul-devouring evil wind, there was a fluctuation of life similar to the one in gravel. Last time it was gravel. This time is a stone. Will be too risky for us to go in? Yun Tianyi said with lingering fear as he recalled the terrifying experience in the gravel. After all, in terms of volume, a stone was dozens of times larger than a gravel. Although the stone is big, it contains a similar amount of life energy. I estimate that the strength of the creatures in the small world should be about the same as the ones in the gravel. Let's learn the array patterns first. Night Sorrow, who was not sure what was inside, but there was definitely a fluctuation of life energy, started to learn the array patterns on the stone as soon as he finished speaking. Night Sorrow, who had already learned the array patterns on the gravel, took less time than the last time to learn something similar. It only took him about 20 days. Yun Tianyi's improvement was obviously greater. The last time he learned the array patterns on the gravel, it took him more than 2 years. This time, it only took him 3 months. Your comprehension has improved a lot. Is it related to the soul-strengthening elixir? Night Sorrow asked after seeing Yun Tianyi's performance. Yes. After taking the soul-strengthening elixir, the power of my divine soul has increased significantly. My comprehension has also improved greatly. The things given by the Divine Lord are indeed extraordinary. If he had not learned the array patterns, Yun Tianyi would not have realized that his comprehension had improved so much. Now that he had made this discovery, he could not wait to say, "Now that we have mastered the array patterns on this stone, why don't we strike while the iron is hot and go in and try our luck?" Okay, if it is still the same as the world and the gravel, you will continue to cooperate with me. Otherwise, we will act according to the circumstances. Night Sorrow instructed and took the lead to enter the small world contained in the stone. Don't worry. With the previous experience, we will definitely finish the battle quickly and catch up with the people in front. Chapter 2491. This time, as soon as they entered the small world, Yin Tianyi laughed. She said in surprise, "Haha, it's exactly the same as the previous small world. Let's fight according to the previous routine. Yes, you suffered quite a bit last time. Be careful this time." Knight Sorrow, who had instructed Yin Tianyi, took the samsara halberd from his back and charged forward. Facing billions of soul-devouring beasts, he had the aura of an unstoppable person. The samsara halberd's appearance had changed greatly. It usually restrained its aura and didn't release flames. Qing Qingzi didn't see its grade and thought it was an ordinary feather god weapon. Who would have thought that its grade was almost at the peak of the exalted god level? With the previous experience, Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi cooperated more tacitly this time. Yin Tianyi didn't suffer any heavy injuries and successfully killed all the soul-devouring beasts. However, God Jinyuan's projection didn't appear this time. After the small world was blasted, it immediately turned into a bronze fragment. From the looks of it, it should be a quarter of a bronze key. It should be a part of the key. It might have something to do with the opportunity later. Yin Tianyi took the bronze fragment and looked at it. She didn't see anything special about it, so she threw it to Knight Sorrow. Yishang placed the bronze shard in his hand and looked at it for a while before saying, "I hope you're right." If Yin Tianyi's guess was correct, the two of them wouldn't be in a hurry at all. Because this key fragment was in their hands, the people in front would definitely not be able to obtain the most important opportunity. However, this was an uncertain matter. Knight Sorrow couldn't use it as insurance. He put the bronze fragment into his pocket and stood up. Let's continue. Although we can be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, it's also the easiest to fall into other people's traps. Yes, those who can have a place on the Feather God list have all fought for it. None of them are simple. I will be careful. Yin Tianyi nodded. Knight Sorrow gave off a very stable vibe. Now, Yin Tianyi felt that Elder Zhuang he had found the right person. There shouldn't be anything left to search in the hall. Although they found a small world in the hall, Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi still searched the hall thoroughly before moving on. Walking out of the hall, the two of them immediately walked into an even wider world. This world contained the sun and moon, as well as mountains and rivers. It looked very grand. However, the creatures within were all gigantic skeletal puppets. There were low-rank high god skeletal dragons that soared in the air and mid-rank high god skeletal birds that breathed fire. There were even more creatures that ran on the ground. Almost every 1,000 miles, there would be a deity-level skeleton. Some of them were even at the higher god level, and their auras were extremely shocking. Ming Yu and Ming Zhu were nowhere to be seen. Looking at the skeletons on the ground, they must have chosen two different paths. Where do we go now? The world in front of them was too vast, and the path was no longer directional. Yin Tianyi turned to look at Knight Sorrow beside her. "Let's not go for now." Knight Sorrow shook his head and said, "Search this world bit by bit and see if we can find a similar small world. But isn't this world too big? And there are high god skeletal puppets everywhere. It's obviously not easy to search." Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Yin Tianyi retorted. Looking at it, this world was boundless and there was no end in sight. If they used their divine soul power to search casually, they would be discovered by the skeletal puppets. Now that this area was obviously wider, there might be some high-level arrays. It would be very dangerous if they accidentally entered. It was not easy to search bit by bit. It'll be difficult to search thoroughly. Our main goal is to wait. Ming Yu and Ming Zhu must not have gone far. If I'm not wrong, they should be fighting with the skeletal puppets not far away. Pointing to the highest mountain in the distance, Knight Sorrow continued. After we determine their location, we will go up this mountain and occupy a commanding position to observe this world. Then we will decide which path to take. What if they also choose the highest mountain? Yin Tianyi continued to ask. Although he felt that there was no skill in climbing a mountain to look into the distance, he felt that Knight Sorrow's words made sense. But if they could think of it, so could others. The mountain is so big, it doesn't matter if there are a few more groups. Knight Sorrow looked into the distance and said, "And we are not afraid of them. We just don't want to cause more trouble." As soon as he finished speaking, a great battle broke out on a hillside hundreds of thousands of miles away. There should be people fighting with the skeletal puppets. A battle has broken out. While Yin Tianyi sighed, a great battle broke out on the other side of the hillside. Let's go. The positions of the two groups were more or less confirmed. Knight Sorrow used his power of merit to open a path and search. Yin Tianyi followed behind him. Knight Sorrow had the power of merit to protect him. Some of the skeletal puppets felt uncomfortable and automatically retreated, but those who were stronger would still attack fiercely. Inevitably, Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi also began to fight with the skeletal puppets. After killing more than 10 skeletal puppets with the strength of upper-level gods, the two of them successfully reached the peak. The speed at which they reached the peak was about the same as the other two groups. Standing on the peak, they saw at the same time that on the other side of the mountain, hundreds of thousands of miles away, there was a palace that reached into the clouds. This palace was built with bluestone. The top of the palace reached into the clouds. It was extremely grand. It's clear where to go now. Looking at the bluestone palace in the distance, Yin Tianyi yearned for it. But at this moment, Mingyu and her group rushed in the direction of Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi. Mingyu's face was gloomy, and there was a clear murderous look in her eyes. She was very vengeful and wanted to kill Knight Sorrow immediately. Yin Jiannan's expression was more relaxed, but there was a clear murderous look in his movements. In Yin Jiannan's opinion, he was the strongest in this trip to the cave abode. But Yin Tianyi was the troublemaker. He was prepared to kill Yin Tianyi as soon as possible to prevent him from becoming a variable. This idea coincided with Mingyu's. The two of them discussed and were prepared to attack Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi as soon as possible. They did not want to give Mingyu a chance to react. As long as the two of them were killed, everything would be fine. Should we fight or retreat? Yin Tianyi asked Knight Sorrow when she saw that the other party was coming at her aggressively. He was no match for Yin Jiannan's strength. If they fought, he would probably only be able to deal with a few nameless feather gods. So he was not confident. Moreover, he still could not see through Knight Sorrow. He did not know if he could fight against Yin Jiannan, who was ranked 27th on the feather god list. After all, Yin Jiannan was one of the top 5 feather gods in the entire Dark Moon Divine Realm. My principle is that I will not attack unless I am attacked. With a smile on his face, Yishan looked at Yin Jiannan and the others who were rushing over and said, "However, if someone wants to harm us, we should deal with them quickly. Otherwise, there will be no variables in the palace. If we are surrounded, it will be difficult to deal with them." Knight Sorrow's meaning was similar to Yin Jiannan's. However, he was the feather god of merit. He would not kill for no reason, just to steal treasures. Chapter 2492. The soul-devouring evil wind at the top of the mountain was obviously stronger than on the plains. Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi felt the wind blow against their faces. Their robes fluttered in the wind as they looked into the distance. At this moment, Yin Jiannan was leading Mingyu and 5 other cultivators who were close to the level of an undefeatable feather god. They were rushing through the soul-devouring evil wind. Not long after, they encountered a lower high deity, realm-bone dragon, soaring in the sky and engaged in a fierce battle with it. Senior brother Yin, those two saw us coming, but they didn't run. It's strange. The 5 cultivators who were close to the level of an undefeatable feather god were all Yin Jiannan's junior brothers. The strongest male cultivator was called Yin Tianhua. He was careful. While fighting the bone dragon, he kept an eye on Knight Sorrow and Yin Tianyi. He found it strange that the two didn't run away while they were fighting. They probably know they can't run away, so they want to join us. Yin Jiannan, who was fighting the bone dragon with his bare hands, sneered. "That's a good idea, but it's too late. Those who reject me, Yin Jiannan, can only die." The murderous intent in his words made Mingyu, who was beside him, tremble slightly. Mingyu was a little afraid of Yin Jiannan. He felt that the murderous intent he inadvertently revealed made him tremble. Senior brother is very powerful. He's one of the top 5 feather gods in the Dark Moon. Let's see how you can fight him. In the soul-devouring evil wind, Mingyu glanced at Yin Jiannan, then looked coldly at Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi. She found it funny that they were standing there and waiting. It was normal that Night Sorrow didn't help, but to her, it made her miss the chance to kill Mingyu. It was unforgivable. Yin Jiannan is indeed very strong. I'm definitely not his match. I'll leave him to you. I should be able to deal with the others. For an undefeatable feather god, a normal half-step high god is nothing. When Yun Tianyi saw Yin Jiannan easily suppressing the lesser high god skeletal dragon with his bare hands, he felt uneasy and irritated. Yin Jiannan's murderous intent was very strong. It surrounded him like a mist, making people uncomfortable. Okay, leave him to me. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say anything. Although Yin Jian was a feather god, he was definitely stronger than most high gods. However, Zhang Xian would have to wait until the battle began before he could reveal his trump cards. It didn't take long for Yin Jiannan and the others to kill the bone dragon with ease. They followed the path on a mountain ridge and arrived in front of Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi. Yin Jiannan had a cold smile on his face as he looked at Yun Tianyi. With a cold tone, he said, "Speak. How do you wish to die? Don't join us. How do you want to die? Of course I want you to die. Aren't you only ranked 27th on the Feather God list? Do you really think you're undefeatable? Next year will be the anniversary of your deaths." Since he had chosen to fight, Yin Tianyi didn't hold back. He arrogantly retorted. His arrogance wasn't inferior to Yin Jiannan's at all. "Oh my, I didn't see it. Yin Tianyi, you've grown quite a bit. You're only ranked 100th on the Feather God list, yet you dare to be so arrogant?" Yin Jiannan didn't expect Yun Tianyi to be so arrogant. Instead of getting angry, he laughed. "I can't be undefeatable, but if a few more of you come, I can kill them all with one hand. It's natural that I'm weaker than you. But today, your opponent is Night Sorrow." Yin Tianyi took a few steps back and looked at Night Sorrow. "Brother Yi, I'll leave Yin Jiannan to you. Okay, you go deal with the others." Night Sorrow nodded. Everyone's attention was on Yun Tianyi. Night Sorrow was completely ignored. At this moment, Yin Jiannan looked at Night Sorrow and laughed. "Ha, you're just a mid-tier feather god, but you're actually the feather god of merit. If I can kill you and obtain your providence, then I, Yin Jiannan, will have a chance of reaching the top 10 on the feather god list." What a pleasant surprise. Night Sorrow had been using his power of merit to protect himself. His body was surrounded by golden light. Yin Jiannan hadn't noticed until now. It was obvious how much he despised Night Sorrow. "You won't be able to steal my providence just by saying that." Night Sorrow could sense Yin Jiannan's contempt. He didn't care about it at all. His opponent's aura was very strong. He should be much stronger than Yun Tianyi, but he was still as calm as a mountain. "You're very good. You're still so calm. I admire your ignorance and courage." Yin Jiannan's voice trembled as he said, "All of you attack together and deal with Yun Tianyi. I'll kill this person. No one could snatch it from me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Yin Jiannan was determined to obtain Night Sorrow's providence. He felt that this was a pleasant surprise from the heavens. "Hurry up and attack. Let me see how strong the top 30 geniuses on the Feather God list are." Night Sorrow was looking forward to this battle. His battle intent immediately rose. He had been in the divine realm for a while, but he hadn't fought with geniuses of the same level. He wasn't sure how strong he was in the divine realm. "Huh, you're very confident. I wonder who gave you this courage. I'll let you understand why some feather gods are so powerful that even the high gods have to bow before them. Kill." Yin Jiannan's junior brothers and Mingyu immediately surrounded Yin Tianyi after he shouted the word "kill" in a cold tone. As for himself, he condensed his divine essence energy and sent a palm strike at Yishan. Yin Jiannan's palm strike was even stronger than Yun Tianyi's secret technique. According to his judgment, this level of attack couldn't be blocked unless one was on the Feather God list. He wanted to kill Night Sorrow with a single palm strike and steal his providence. This method of attack was a great humiliation. Clearly, he still didn't see Night Sorrow as a real opponent. You're too arrogant. I hope you can maintain this confidence. Night Sorrow wanted to test his strength and didn't use the green phoenix armor to protect him. Being looked down upon like this, he didn't even use his primordial spirit energy. Instead, he welcomed Yin Jiannan's attack with a palm strike. Interesting. So your body is very strong. No wonder you dare to be so impudent in front of me. However, you're too naive if you think you can fight me with just a strong body. You think your body is strong? I'll kill you with a single slap. It'll be like swatting a fly. Yin Jiannan was a little embarrassed that his attack didn't succeed. He immediately used his secret technique to increase his strength and sent another palm strike towards Night Sorrow. This palm strike was the same as the previous one, but the power was completely different. Whether it was the aura or the strength, it was several times stronger. He was so arrogant that he wanted to kill Night Sorrow with a single slap. He wanted to show off his strength. Again, you're courting death. I think you should have a taste of my palm strike. Night Sorrow was very unhappy with Yin Jiannan's arrogance. He used the Vanishing Shadow Void Escape technique to dodge this attack. Then he used his Essence Smoke and Astral Domination body to gather his Divine Origin energy to his right hand. He wanted to give Yin Jiannan a taste of his own medicine. Since you want to kill me, I'll kill you. Chapter 2493. Boom! Faced with Night Sorrow's super strong body and shocking strength, Yin Jiannan was still smacked into the mountain, even though he tried his best to block the attack. A huge crater was formed where he was standing. Countless pieces of gravel were sent flying in all directions. What's going on? Yin Jiannan had wanted to smack Night Sorrow to death, but he had been smacked into the ground by Night Sorrow. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Yin Jiannan and the others did not expect that their senior brother would be at a disadvantage, and his face would be smacked swollen. You're so fierce. It's not shameful for me to lose to you. Yin Tianni, who was fighting with them, smiled. The haze of being suppressed by Night Sorrow had completely dissipated. According to his judgment, Night Sorrow's current strength was probably enough to rank in the top 60 of the Feather God list. It was normal for such a person to suppress him. Moreover, this was just the beginning. Night Sorrow definitely had some strength left. This proved that he definitely had the strength to advance further on the Feather God list. Bastard, I underestimated you. It seems like you deliberately hid your strength. You're definitely not a mid-tier Feather God. Yin Jiannan, who had jumped out of the crater, looked very pathetic. His body was covered in mud. He used his God Essence energy to remove the mud. He stared coldly at Night Sorrow and said, "You're indeed much stronger than Yin Tianni, but I'll definitely kill you today. Think what you want. I've said it before. If you want to take away my providence, just talking is useless. Show me what you're capable of." Yin Jiannan's body was protected by the stellar energy, so his body was quite sturdy. He didn't suffer any serious injuries after being hit by that palm. Facing such an opponent, Yishang's fighting spirit soared. I, Yin Jiannan, will not only kill you today, but I will also kill you with my palm. Being slapped in the ground by Night Sorrow made Yin Jiannan lose all face. His pride was extremely strong, and he stubbornly wanted to slap back. As he roared, he continued to use his secret technique to increase his strength. Then he exploded. Take my ultimate move, Divine Palm. This time, Yin Jiannan still unleashed a palm strike, but this time he used an invincible Feather God level technique. Good timing. This palm was obviously stronger than the previous one, but this time, Night Sorrow did not choose to dodge. While using the Vital Essence Smoke and the Star's Mighty Body, he raised his power of merit to the strongest state and fought back. Night Sorrow had only been in the God world for a short period of time, so he had yet to learn any absolute arts. However, his power of merit had reached the pinnacle of the Feather God level. Whether it was used for defense or offense, it could erupt with great power. His counterattack was obviously not weaker than Yin Jiannan's Divine Palm. With a boom, Yin Jiannan was not smacked into the ground this time. Instead, he was blasted into the sky, almost flying into the sky. After being hit by the palm imbued with the power of virtue, countless cracks appeared on Yin Jiannan's high god defensive robe. Moreover, his luck was obviously affected when fighting against Knight Sorrow, who had power of merit. As he flew into the sky, he encountered a mid-level high god level bone phoenix. The phoenix spat out a mouthful of flames and burned him until he screamed in pain. "Damn it, all of you deserve to die." After being injured consecutively, Yin Jiannan, who had thought that he was in control of the battle, became crazed. He hovered in the air and roared, "Wake up, Blood Lotus Throne!" In an instant, a dark red lotus throne the size of a fingertip tied to his waist grew 1,000,000 times larger. Then like a millstone, it crushed down on the mid-level high god level bone phoenix. After being continuously struck by the dark red blood fiend lotus platform, the bone phoenix 9 was smashed into pieces and completely fell onto the mountain slope. "Knight Sorrow, you've done well. You've successfully forced me to use my divine artifact." Yin Jiannan, who had flown back from afar, no longer mentioned the matter of slapping Yishang to death. Instead, he sent his blood fiend lotus platform, which was filled with fiendish aura, straight towards Yishang. "The murderous aura is so thick. Your divine artifact must have devoured a lot of blood energy. No wonder you're so murderous. You'll be a disaster if I let you live." The lotus throne was originally made of red flowers, white lotus roots, and green lotus leaves. It was a symbol of purity and holiness. Now, Yin Jiannan had refined it into a murderous object. Knight Sorrow didn't want to let such a person go. He took the Samsara halberd from his back and fought against the Blood Lotus throne. He wanted to shatter this evil object. On the other side, Mingyu and the others were locked in a stalemate with Yun Tianyi. When they saw that Knight Sorrow had defeated Yin Jiannan consecutively and forced him to use his strongest artifact, they were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. They were distracted during the battle and allowed Yun Tianyi to injure 2 of them. How did this Knight Sorrow become so strong? He didn't have this ability when he wreaked havoc in Jubao Pavilion. Was he hiding his strength all along? Damn it, I should have helped him back then. When he saw that Knight Sorrow and Yin Jiannan were evenly matched, Mingyu was shocked. In the entire Dark Moon Divine Realm, there were no more than 5 feather gods who could fight against Yin Jiannan. If nothing went wrong, Knight Sorrow would become famous in the entire Dark Moon Divine Realm. Not only did she not make friends with such a person, but she also became enemies because of her extreme personality. This made Mingyu very depressed. At this moment, she regretted that she didn't help Knight Sorrow at Jubao Pavilion that day. Otherwise, she would be Knight Sorrow's friend by now. "How dare you be distracted while fighting me? Die." Mingyu had just broken through to half-step high god, and there was a big gap between her strength and Yun Tianyi's. At this moment, she was distracted in the battle and was stabbed in the chest by a sword. If it weren't for the amazing defensive power of the divine martial sex robe, she would have been killed. "Protect Mingyu." Yin Jiannan, who was fighting Knight Sorrow in the distance, saw that Mingyu was stabbed and immediately shouted. Although the inferior feather gods sent by Mingyu were weak, when they entered the cave, the soul-devouring evil wind and the various skeletons and puppets were not as strong as they were now. Therefore, they obtained a lot of useful information. Mingyu and Mingju knew this information. Yin Jiannan naturally didn't want Mingyu to be killed. After all, she was like a living map. "Yes, senior brother." Hearing Yin Jiannan's order, Yin Tianhua responded and ordered the others, form the Divine Martial Starry Formation. Yes, the Divine Martial Starry Formation was originally a trump card that they had prepared. They didn't expect to be forced to use it before they even started fighting for the treasure. After forming the Divine Martial Starry Formation, the 5 half-step high gods of the Divine Martial Sect seemed to have merged into one body and become the real invincible feather gods. Fighting with the 5, Yun Tianyi gradually felt more and more exhausted. His raw strength was obviously not as strong as the 5 who had formed the formation. However, at this moment, he glanced at Knight Sorrow and Yin Jiannan who were fighting and found that Knight Sorrow's Samsara halberd was ruthlessly suppressing the blood evil lotus as if it was assisted by God. 2 of the 12 corners of the blood evil lotus had been broken. Yin Jiannan was also covered in blood. Obviously, he was weaker than Knight Sorrow. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been suppressed like this. Brother Yi has gained the upper hand. It seems that I can stake everything and use my secret skill. With this thought, Yin Tianyi used a powerful secret skill to increase his strength by several times. He used his most powerful skill, the non-phase sword formation. The 5 experts of the Divine Martial Sect formed the Divine Martial Starry Formation. Yin Tianyi's non-phase sword formation was not as powerful as the Divine Martial Starry Formation, but it was enough for defense. Hang in there. I'll be done soon. Glancing at Yin Tianyi, Knight Sorrow couldn't help much in the battle. Chapter 2494. Have a taste of my forbidden spear. Knight Sorrow, who had already gained the upper hand, was unwilling to use the 7-star violent light shaking sword. That was because it would consume a spiritual recovery pill. Using such a consumption in a battle was clearly a little wasteful. He used the evolved Samsara halberd to unleash a brand new forbidden spear. This spear contained a powerful Samsara power. After being hit, Yin Jiannan's Blood Fiend Lotus platform immediately dropped a grade. Its defensive power was greatly reduced. It was no longer realistic to use it to defend against Knight Sorrow's attack. You're forcing my hand. Secret Art of Burning Blood. After being continuously suppressed by Knight Sorrow, Yin Jiannan was completely enraged. He roared as he burned his blood to increase his strength. He activated the strongest attack of the Blood Fiend Lotus platform, Blood Lotus Emerge. Yin Jiannan used the Blood Fiend Lotus platform to unleash this move. A bloody rain immediately drifted down from the sky. This bloody rain cooperated with Yin Jiannan's divine domain and directly enveloped Knight Sorrow. Then, the remaining 10 horns of the Blood Fiend Lotus platform all turned into sharp blades and flew up to attack Knight Sorrow, who was wielding the Samsara halberd and had his hair fluttering in the wind. Filth, purify for me. Yin Jiannan's divine domain was like an Azura's blood field. It gave Knight Sorrow a very uncomfortable feeling. He roared and transformed the power of virtue into a dragon that devoured and purified the bloody rain around him. Awoo! After the golden dragon of virtue flew out, the bloody rain that filled the sky seemed to be suddenly illuminated by the sun. It instantly became sacred. Under the purification of the dragon of virtue, the bloody rain in the air was quickly dispersed. Yin Jiannan's divine domain was naturally unable to suppress Knight Sorrow. He wielded the Samsara halberd and directly unleashed the forbidden 10 spears. These 10 spear strikes were as fast as lightning, and they were accompanied by blood-red flames. Compared to the 10 simple spear strikes from before, they were countless times more powerful. One after another, they struck down the 10 horns that flew out from the Blood Fiend Lotus throne. After being burned by the flames of the Samsara halberd, the 10 horns of the Blood Fiend Lotus platform were burned to ashes before they could even fly back. This made Yin Jiannan's heart ache. Bastard! If I don't use my life-risking move, I will lose this battle. But if I use my life-saving move here, it's not worth it. Looks like I can only retreat now. Night. Yin Jiannan was a Blood Fiend Lotus platform. After being continuously suppressed, of course, Yin Jiannan felt very uneasy. After pondering for a moment, he felt that it would be meaningless to use a life-saving technique here, even if he could defeat Yi Sorrow. It was even possible that Ming Ju's group would be the Oriole behind the mantis. Thus, he unwillingly roared, "Everyone, use the blood escape technique." Then, he turned into a bloody mist and disappeared from the world. Using the blood escape technique, did Senior Brother lose? Yin Tianhua and the others, who were suppressing Yin Tianyi, were stunned. They did not expect Yin Jiannan to lose. But since Yin Jiannan had lost and escaped, they would not continue fighting. The 5 of them, and Mingyu used the Blood Fiend Lotus platform and disappeared. Brother Yi, you really defeated Yin Jianan. You will become a popular person in the Dark Moon Divine Realm when you get out of here. Yun Tianyi praised in admiration when he saw Yi Shang defeat Yin Jianan unscathed, allowing the other party to execute a secret technique and escape. Now, he was no longer arrogant when facing Night Sorrow. His eyes were full of respect. Wait a moment. This battle is not over yet. Night Sorrow had not given up completely. He waved the Samsara halberd and shot a spear into the void in the distance. The spear had an unstoppable momentum. Following a few screams, Yin Jianan and the others were all blasted out of the void by Night Sorrow. They fell to the ground one after another, looking very miserable. They attracted the attacks of several skeleton puppets. One of them was a bone ape with the strength of an upper-level high deity. The skeletal ape was as big as a mountain. When it saw Yin Jianan and the others descending into its territory, it immediately raised its hand and slapped out a palm strike. Although the slap did not kill Yin Jianan, it killed two of his junior brothers. Mingyu, who was already injured, was lucky. He landed later and was not hit by the slap. Otherwise, she would have been slapped to death. Run. Use the Blood Fiend Lotus platform again. Yin Jianan was furious that two of his junior brothers had died, but he did not want to continue fighting. Using the Blood Fiend Lotus platform again would consume a lot of energy. But in order to escape, he did not care so much. Under his command, Mingyu and the others used the Blood Fiend Lotus platform again and disappeared instantly. This time, Night Sorrow could sense their location, but he did not want to attract the attacks of the skeleton puppets. So he did not do it. So he slowly floated down from the sky. Night Sorrow, who had landed on the mountain peak, looked at Yun Tianyi and said, "Rest up and adjust to your best condition. Then, we will march to the Greenstone Palace. The real competition will only begin in the palace." Yin Jianan must have held back, but it is already a miracle that you could defeat him as a middle-level god of feathers. I feel that the current you should be in a state where you are invincible among those of the same level. Yun Tianyi, who had consumed 2 recovery elixirs, said with sincere admiration, "The realm of the gods is full of talents. I have not accumulated enough, and my moves are a little monotonous." Night Sorrow felt that he was lacking in absolute arts. His moves in battle were a little monotonous. This was a problem he had to solve. This proves that you have great potential. There is still a lot of room for improvement. I estimate that you are now around the 20th place on the feather list. Once you have accumulated enough, you should be able to reach the top 10. Once you become an upper-level feather god, you might be able to reach the top 5, Yin Tianyi said enviously. To him, this was unattainable. The top 10 on the feather list were all legends of the realm of the gods. They had accumulated a lot of experience, but they had not broken through to the high god level because they wanted to be perfect. Only with a good foundation would they have a chance to become a divine king or even a sovereign. Perhaps it would be a lie if Yi Shang said that he didn't care about these rankings at all. However, compared to these, he wanted to quickly become stronger so that he could protect his family and allow the Night Moon dynasty to truly have a place in the celestial realm. After Yun Tianyi recovered, Night Sorrow, who had not expended any energy, said, "Let's go down a mountain and walk to the Greenstone Palace." During this process, don't forget to pay attention to the details of the surroundings. Also, I feel that the terrain here is a little strange. There might be some array formations here. Although the Greenstone Palace was right in front of them, Night Sorrow felt that the path to the palace might not be smooth. If Ji Hao, Shangwan Hai, and Lung Ningxin could hear Night Sorrow's words, they would definitely agree. At this moment, the 3 of them were trapped in a maze formation and could not escape. Let's be careful. There should be no problem, right? Brother Yi, you are very strong. You should be good at array formations, right? Yin Tianyi asked as they rushed down the mountain to the Greenstone Palace. I know little. I'm afraid that God Jinyuan's cave residence is not enough. Night Sorrow said honestly. He was not trying to be humble. Compared to God Jinyuan, his array formation skills were indeed much weaker. In the end, Night Sorrow's words came true. Chapter 2495. After entering this array formation, Night Sorrow and Yuntiani discovered that this was a world of birds and flowers. It gave them a sense of tranquility. This sense of tranquility made them sleepy. Before they had gone far, Night Sorrow and Yuntiani's eyelids were so sore that they couldn't open them at all. "Brother Yi, I'm too sleepy. I'm going to sleep for a while." With a plop, Yuntiani's body sank. He fell directly onto the lush green lawn and fell asleep without caring about anything else. Night Sorrow was very surprised that he fell asleep so quickly. At this moment, although Night Sorrow's eyelids were a little heavy, his consciousness was still relatively clear. This might have something to do with his deity ocean. While his mind was clear, he observed his surroundings and discovered that there was a colorful green field in front of him. Behind this green field, there was an ancient forest with a faint mist drifting around it. The mist in the ancient forest gradually spread to the green field and then to Night Sorrow's side. This made his thoughts slow down. "I can't sleep. I can't sleep." Yuntiani soon began to snore. Night Sorrow, who felt the boundless sleepiness attacking him, shook his deity ocean and erupted with a powerful soul power to resist this sleepiness. There was no time in the deity realm. Night Sorrow understood that if he fell asleep, he might not wake up many years later. Not only would he not be able to fight for the letter from Gaijin Yuan, but he would also miss the opportunity to save concubine Wu Lingfei. What kind of array formation is this? It can actually trap a cultivator of the divine feather realm like this. Night Sorrow, who was barely able to open his eyelids, looked at the scenery in front of him vaguely. He felt that all the trees were swaying around as if they were hypnotizing him. "I can't sleep. I definitely can't sleep." Night Sorrow, who really couldn't resist the sleepiness, was a little short-circuited. He couldn't figure out what was going on with this array formation. At the moment when he was about to fall asleep, he roared and used Essence Chi Smoke and Astral Domination Body. However, he only became alert for a short while before he became sleepy again. The sudden sleepiness was as if he couldn't resist it. It was very terrifying. "Break!" Night Sorrow, who had no other choice, suddenly cut off his left arm and used the everlasting body forging art to absorb it. The pain of his broken bones finally made him more alert. At this moment, Night Sorrow's senses became sharper and he smelled a familiar scent. The smell of Tao Comprehension wine. It seems to be Tao Comprehension wine. If I drink a few mouthfuls, my divine sense will definitely become clear. With this discovery, Night Sorrow was immediately motivated. He took out his samsara halberd and stabbed it into Yuntiani's thigh. He roared, "Get up, you can't sleep." What's wrong?" Yuntiani was woken up by the stab of the spear. She only felt a little pain, but she didn't completely wake up. "Hurry up and wake up, you can't sleep here." Night Sorrow directly lifted Yuntiani up and slapped her cheeks. However, not long after, Night Sorrow felt that he couldn't take it anymore. Therefore, he left Yuntiani and staggered towards the direction of the wine fragrance. His footsteps were a little messy, but no matter how much he swayed, he didn't fall down. "I'm close. I'm less than 100 miles away from the wine fragrance. Hold on a little longer." Feeling that he could still hold on, Night Sorrow didn't continue to use the everlasting body forging art. If he used it recklessly, even if he could leave this illusion array, he would need a long time to recover. It would be disadvantageous for him in the fight for the Divine Lord's Cave. So much Tao Comprehension wine? What a huge amount of resources! Night Sorrow walked in a daze. Suddenly, he saw a 10-mile square lake in the forest in front of him. The lake was actually filled with Tao Comprehension wine. Even in a sleepy state, Night Sorrow suddenly became excited. He moved quickly and pounced towards the lake. However, just as Night Sorrow was about to jump into the lake, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. As he sensed a strong sense of danger. This deadly sense of crisis made him sober up a lot in an instant. Bam! Suddenly, Night Sorrow's body was flung thousands of miles away by a huge dragon tail. This attack had the power to destroy heaven and earth. If it weren't for the blue phoenix battle armor automatically protecting him, Night Sorrow might have been killed. That was close. The azure phoenix battle armor, which should have been able to defend against the attacks of a high god, was severely damaged in order to block this attack. Now, it was probably only able to defend against the attacks of a low god. Night Sorrow, who was suddenly attacked, was still a little tired, but his consciousness was completely clear. He discovered that the lake was becoming bigger and bigger. It went from a 10-mile square lake to a boundless ocean. There was no trace of the Tao comprehension wine at all. It was all an illusion. At the same time, a huge dragon rose from the surface of the sea. This dragon looked a little strange. It looked a little like a snake and was a little round. It was surrounded by a thick sea serpent aura. It was this aura that made Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi extremely tired. This is the sea serpent, intermediate exalted god sea serpent. So you're the one who made me so tired. Although his life was threatened and his body was still being corroded by the sea serpent aura, Night Sorrow's mind was no longer in a mess. He swallowed a few recovery pills and directly used the 7-star violent light shaking art. With the addition of the essence chi smoke beacon, the star's hegemonic body, and the power of virtue that had been fully utilized, Night Sorrow was in a much better state. Seeing Night Sorrow wake up, the sea serpent immediately spat out a mouthful of turbid sea serpent aura. This mouthful of sea serpent aura spread for thousands of miles, completely covering the space between the sea serpent and Night Sorrow. Then, countless images appeared in front of Night Sorrow's eyes. There was the grass and trees of Bamboo Garden Village, the changes in the 9 regions world, and the many sceneries of the celestial realm. There was Night Sorrow's children cultivating together, Night Sorrow's wife drinking tea and chatting, and even Papa Gu and Yi Ling Huan drinking together. Grandpa. When these images appeared, Night Sorrow's face revealed a trace of intoxication. But after seeing his grandpa, Yi Ling Huan, his soul shook, and he woke up again. As soon as he arrived in the divine realm, Yi Ling Huan, Lin Piao Miao, and Yi Ling Huan were tortured to a state worse than death. This matter had always been in Night Sorrow's heart. When he saw Papa Gu and Yi Ling Huan drinking together, he immediately woke up and remembered where he was. This was Lord God Jin Yuan's cave abode, and he was fighting with a sea serpent. After waking up, Night Sorrow used the void escape technique to travel through the void and directly appeared in front of the sea serpent. He waved the heavenly samsara halberd and used the fiery demon subduing spear. The fiery demon subduing spear was an area of effect attack. It covered a large area and burned the sea serpent's huge body into a fiery red. The sea serpent immediately dived back into the sea after being burned by the flames that contained the true phoenix bloodline. Its sea serpent aura was terrifying, but its defense wasn't strong. Reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow, who had condensed his power to the strongest state, immediately chased after it and used the heavenly samsara halberd to attack with the reincarnation attribute. Even though the sea serpent didn't drop from mid-level high god to low-level high god, its sea serpent aura weakened greatly. Chapter 2496. Puff. Seeing that the situation was not right, the sea serpent spat out an even stronger sea serpent dragon aura. This was its trump card. After spitting out this sea serpent dragon aura, its cultivation level dropped from mid-level high god to low-level high god. Its aura was obviously weakened. Break. This time, Night Sorrow did not dodge or attack in the face of the sea serpent dragon's aura. Gathering his divine Yuan Qi, he transformed it into divine Yuan Qi and let out a loud roar. The sea serpent dragon's aura was shattered before it could form any mirages. Seeing that the situation was not good, the sea serpent dragon fled frantically. Where do you think you're going? Yishang roared and used the vanishing shadow void escape to chase after him. The sea serpent dragon's most powerful ability was to spit out its sea serpent dragon aura. Now that this aura was no longer effective against Night Sorrow, it was unrealistic for it to escape. However, when Night Sorrow was 10,000 miles away, the sea serpent dragon's scissor-like tail suddenly glowed and whipped fiercely. You want to whip me? Dream on. Facing the sea serpent dragon's huge tail, Night Sorrow raised his samsara halberd and struck. The sea serpent dragon's tail shattered like glass, causing it to howl in pain in the water. If it weren't for the blue phoenix armor, I might have been killed by you. Now go to hell. The sea serpent dragon's aura was no longer effective, and its tail had been shattered. It could not escape Night Sorrow's pursuit. Although Night Sorrow was the virtuous feather god, he would not show mercy to a monster that wanted to kill him. He gathered his divine essence and struck the sea serpent dragon's head with the forbidden spear. He wanted to penetrate its divine sea. Lord, please spare me. I attacked you because I was loyal to someone. At this moment, the sea serpent dragon suddenly turned into a girl in green and knelt in front of Night Sorrow. Loyal to someone? Is someone trying to harm me? The girl in green had a round face with some baby fat. She did not look like a treacherous person. Night Sorrow withdrew his samsara halberd and interrupted the fatal attack. It's not about harming my lord. It's about harming anyone who enters this formation. At this point, the chubby girl shook her head and said, "No, that's not right. It's not harm. It's to make all the cultivators who enter this array sleep for 10,000 years. Then why did you attack me just now?" Night Sorrow's tone was a bit cold. Night Sorrow. It's because you didn't fall asleep and entered the second part of the test that you were attacked. In fact, the sneak attack on you was augmented by Lord Divine, Lord Genuine. I don't have such strong offensive power. Given its strength, there was no way it would be able to cause the Azure Phoenix battle armor to drop a grade. Lord God, 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 Lords is Lord. God, God, God. Eyes is God. Is God Divine, God, God. God, 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 God. God is God level is God, God. Is God. Isn't a little too hard a way for you to leave after breaking through to the God King realm? But since it's Divine Lord Genuine's idea, I won't pursue the matter of the sneak attack. Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow sighed. Divine Lord Genuine had already died in battle. How could there be any possibility of him breaking through to the Divine King level? Thinking of this, he asked, "How many years have you been guarding this formation?" "Yes, there should be. I can't remember clearly. I can't count them." The sea serpent, who had transformed into a chubby girl, counted with her fingers and did not understand. She knelt and said, "Anyway, this cave abode exists. I've always been in this array formation. Get up and talk. It's quite pitiful to keep guarding here." Night Sorrow condensed his divine essence power and helped the sea serpent that had transformed into a young girl up. He said, "The key is that Sir Divine Lord has already fallen in the battle back then. Why don't you leave with me? If you wait here, you will never see him." Divine Lord Genuine had already perished. Night Sorrow did not wish to see the sea serpent, who was not very scheming, trapped in such an array formation forever. For any living being, waiting in such a dark formation was meaningless. "No, Sir Divine Lord is not dead. He's so powerful. He won't die. I'll always wait here for him." However, the sea serpent shook her head stubbornly when she heard Night Sorrow's words. She took a few steps back in disbelief. "All right, since you don't want to leave, you can cultivate here. If I see Divine Lord again, I'll ask him to come and talk to you." Seeing the sea serpent's firm attitude, Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. He had the power of merit and could tell that the sea serpent was not lying. He thought that whoever started the trouble should end it. If he saw Divine Lord Genuine's shadow again, he would ask him to come and talk to the sea serpent. Then Night Sorrow asked, "My friend is still sleeping soundly. Is there a way to wake her up quickly?" Night Sorrow did not want Yin Tianyi to sleep for tens of thousands of years. That would definitely affect the final battle for the cave abode. Yes. I'll put away the sea serpent's aura, and she will wake up. In addition, here's a drop of my tear. Sir, you can drop it into your eye. This way, you will be able to see through all kinds of illusions in the future. The sea serpent put away the sea serpent's aura in the small world and handed a drop of sparkling tear to Night Sorrow. Sir, I can only produce one drop of my tear in a lifetime. This is a reward arranged by Sir Divine Lord. You deserve it. Since it's Sir Divine Lord's arrangement, I'll accept it. The sea serpent's tear had such an effect. It was definitely priceless. Night Sorrow was delighted. After all, he and Yuntiani would go deep into the cave abode and might encounter countless illusions. If they could see through all of them, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Sir, you could drop it directly into one eye without any side effects. When it reaches a certain level, not only will you be able to see through all illusions, you can even see through other people's unique skills and imitate them directly. The sea serpent explained slowly with a hint of pride in her tone. If what she said was true, then the value of the sea serpent's tear was too great. How do I level it up? The sea serpent's words made Night Sorrow's heart skip a beat. What he lacked the most now was various unique skills. If he could really see through other people's exquisite unique skills, it would be too heaven-defying. When Sir cultivates the sea serpent's, I will automatically absorb divine essence and level up. However, with Sir's current realm, even if the sea serpent's eye is raised to a certain level, you can only see through the feather god's unique skills. The round-faced sea serpent explained seriously. No matter what, thank you. This is a divine soul recovery pill. Take it quickly. I'm sorry for injuring you just now. The backlash of the 7-star violent alcade came. Night Sorrow took 2 divine soul recovery pills and handed 2 to the sea serpent. The effect of the sea serpent's tear was really heaven-defying. He was very grateful. However, now that he couldn't use his spatial Dharma artifact, he couldn't think of anything to give in return. He could only remember it silently. Thank you, sir. The sea serpent, who had taken 2 divine soul recovery pills, smiled sweetly at Night Sorrow. When she smiled, her face became even rounder. Chapter 2497. The Divine Emperor gave me the name Shun Yuan. Shun Yuan replied with a smile. My lord, your friend is woken up. I'll go back to the bottom of the sea to cultivate. Shun Yuan bowed to Night Sorrow and turned back into the sea serpent, swimming to the bottom of the sea. Okay, go ahead. I'll come back to see you. Night Sorrow waved to Shun Yuan and rose to the surface of the sea, returning to Yuntiani. At this time, Yuntiani had just woken up. There was a trace of confusion in her eyes, as if she had forgotten how she came here. The sea serpent's aura is gone. Hurry up and recover. We'll continue later. Night Sorrow said to Yuntiani. Then he dripped the sea serpent's tear into his left eye and slowly absorbed it. After absorbing the sea serpent's tear, Night Sorrow soon saw the center of the illusory formation and left with Yuntiani. What's going on there? After leaving the illusory formation, Yuntiani's aura had returned to normal, but she had no idea what was going on. There was the sea serpent's aura in that formation. That's why you fell asleep. But I've broken it. Night Sorrow didn't say Shun Yuan. After saying that, he suddenly grabbed Yuntiani and said, Stop. Let's go another way. There was a maze-like illusory formation in front of them. With the help of the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow avoided it and didn't walk in. However, just as they were about to go around it, a cold voice sounded. Yuntiani, it's really you. It turned out to be Ji Hao, Lung Mingxin, and Shangwan Hai, who had just come out of the illusory formation. When Shangwan Hai saw Yuntiani and Yishang, he immediately shouted sinisterly. His entire body exuded an intense, killing intent. Not only Shangwan Hai, but also Ji Hao and Lung Mingxin. Obviously, they wanted to kill Night Sorrow and Yuntiani without any hesitation. They were very confident in their strength, so they didn't bother to hide it. Shangwan Hai, it's you. Upon seeing Shangwan Hai, Yuntiani's face immediately turned ugly. Her father had been suppressed by the Shangwan family of Longqi Mountain. Yuntiani hated everyone in the Shangwan family to the bone. However, their strength had always been about the same. If not, Yin Tianyi would have thought of a way to kill him long ago. Yin Tianyi. Oh, Yin Tianyi. How arrogant are you to enter the Jinyuan Divine Lord's abode with a piece of trash at the mid-level Divine Feather Realm? Do you think it's so easy to barge into an invincible Divine Lord's cave abode? Shangguan Hai, who was sizing up Night Sorrow, found that he was a mid-level feather god, and immediately laughed at him. Hee hee. If he's trash, then you're worse than a pig or a dog. You're trash with eyes but no sight. Yin Tianyi couldn't help but laugh at Shangguan Hai, who was ranked 97th on the God of Feathers list, when he ridiculed Night Sorrow, who was ranked at least in the top 30. Yin Tianyi, you're courting death. This is the Jinyuan Divine Lord's cave abode, not a sect. No one can protect you. Shangguan Hai, who had been ridiculed, immediately had a murderous look on his face. At this time, Ji Hao, who was standing to the side, said impatiently, Shangguan Hai, what nonsense are you talking about? Those who stand in our way must die. Hurry up and do it. You go and kill that mid-level feather god. Okay. Shangguan Hai immediately took out a simple saber and slashed at Night Sorrow fiercely. You're not an invincible feather god, but you dare to come here to try your luck. I really don't know how you got here. Now go to hell. I really don't know how you survived until now with your eyesight. Night Sorrow didn't dodge Shangguan Hai's attack at all. He activated the Essence Smoke and Star's mighty body and directly slapped out with his palm. Shangguan Hai's strength was about the same as Yin Tianyi's. They were no match for each other at all. Night Sorrow didn't bother to talk nonsense with such an opponent. He just slapped him to death. Ant, you're really courting. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't dodge at all, Shangguan Hai wanted to shout that he was courting death. However, before he could say the word, he was slapped into ashes, and his soul was destroyed. Night Sorrow didn't like Wu Xin and the people from Longqi Mountain at all. He didn't show any mercy at all. At this time, Lung Ningxin was attacking Yin Tianyi. She was much stronger than Yin Tianyi, so she suppressed her in an instant. Yin Tianyi, who was attacked by Lung Ningxin continuously, couldn't resist Lung Ningxin's ice seal at all. Her movements became very slow, as if she was moving in slow motion. Ji Hao was definitely a ruthless person. When Lung Ningxin restrained Yin Tianyi, he, who had a strong body, immediately launched a sneak attack, trying to smash Yin Tianyi's head. However, Night Sorrow had already killed Shangguan Hai. He turned around to help and slapped Ji Hao away with the strength of his body. What? You're so strong. Where's Shangguan Hai? Is he dead? Ji Hao, who was very confident in the strength of his body, was sent flying by Yi Shang's slap. He immediately revealed a shocked expression. He didn't realize that Shangguan Hai had been killed until then. His surprise immediately turned into shock. Ji Hao didn't expect that a middle-level god of feathers could be so powerful. He killed Shangguan Hai, who was on the God of Feathers list, with one move. Also, his body was stronger than his. He asked in a cold voice, "Who are you? The one who's going to kill you?" They were already fighting, and Ji Hao wanted to kill Yin Tianyi. Night Sorrow wasn't in the mood to talk nonsense with him. He took the Samsara halberd from his back and directly attacked. With the help of the vanishing shadow void escape, the attack was so fast that Ji Hao couldn't dodge it. No! Ningxin, help me! Ji Hao immediately sensed the aura of death from Night Sorrow's attack. He took out a long sword and shouted for help. 1,000 miles of ice. In fact, Lung Ningxin had been paying attention to the situation even before Ji Hao said anything. She immediately performed her unique skill and used her God Realm to slow down Night Sorrow. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to be frozen. Yin Tianyi was almost frozen into an ice sculpture. He wanted to help, but he couldn't, which made him very unhappy. Because this time, he had become a spectator again. He was going to be a hindrance. Yin Tianyi's pride was hurt, but Night Sorrow's action was only slightly delayed, because he had activated the power of merit. With the help of the power of merit, Night Sorrow's God Realm directly broke through Lung Ningxin's suppression. The Samsara halberd pierced toward Ji Hao's Dantian without any hindrance. Faced with Night Sorrow's attack, Ji Hao felt like he was locked on. He couldn't dodge at all, so he could only brace himself and use his long sword to block the attack. With a boom, Jihao was sent flying. Jihao's strength was much weaker than Yin Jianan's. Moreover, Yin Jianan could block some of Knight Soro's attacks because of the Crimson Lotus. Naturally, he couldn't block them. Everlasting Hail. Just then, Lung Ningxin's aura suddenly changed. It became several times stronger as she performed another unique skill. Countless icy raindrops immediately appeared in the sky. Like transparent blades of ice, they continuously stabbed towards Yi Saro. How dare you call yourself everlasting? Faced with the endless hail, Knight Saro couldn't chase after Jihao anymore. He raised the Samsara halberd and performed Inferno Demon Subduing. With the support of his powerful strength, Inferno Demon Subduing turned into a fire phoenix and melted all the hail in an instant. Damn it, he's so strong. Lung Ningxin's expression was cold. She didn't expect Knight Saro to be so strong. Knowing that she had no chance of winning in a one-on-one fight, she transmitted her voice to Jihao. Run or fight. I'm going to kill him. Jihao, who was sent flying by Knight Saro, replied unwillingly. All right, then let's perform a joint attack. Although Lung Ningxin was cold and heartless, she was Jihao's cultivation partner. They had been together for many years. Chapter 2498. Jihao and Lung Ningxin had great teamwork and were very powerful. They had once used this joint attack to kill the top 30 fighters on the God of Feathers list. Not many people knew about this, so Knight Saro didn't know about it. Knight Saro didn't kill Lung Ningxin when he had the upper hand. Instead, he went to Yun Tianyi and helped him get rid of Lung Ningxin's ice. Yun Tianyi's qi, blood, and divine origin energy were all frozen. It took him a while to recover. This battle was a big blow to him. He realized the real gap between him and the fighters on the God of Feathers list. Brother Yi, I've dragged you down again in this battle. Luckily, you're strong enough. Otherwise, we would have been killed. Yun Tianyi, whose face was gradually returning to normal, cupped his hands at Knight Saro and thanked him. I don't think they're that simple. Leave the battle and watch from the sidelines. If there's a chance, help them immediately. Knight Saro kept an eye on Jihao and Lung Ningxin while he was treating Yun Tianyi. He didn't let his guard down. Jihao and Lung Ningxin gathered together while Knight Saro was treating Yun Tianyi. After communicating for a while, the two of them cooperated and attacked Knight Saro together. You're an elite among the God of Feathers if you can force us to use our joint attack. But you're going to die today. Jihao, who had been suppressed in the battle, was very frustrated. He shouted while flying, "Are they going to fight me in close combat?" Good timing. Jihao and Lung Ningxin didn't use any secret techniques. Instead, they flew toward Knight Saro, which surprised him. It was Knight Saro's first time fighting someone in close combat after he left the Endless Bone Realm. Facing the two menacing opponents, he reactivated the Essence Qi Smoke Signal and the star's mighty body, as well as the power of merits. His figure flashed as he used the Vanishing Shadow escape technique to confront them. Although Yishan's body was currently at the intermediate feather god level, his body had absorbed a large amount of Genesis essence and was no weaker than an ordinary lower high god. He naturally did not fear two feather god level opponents. He, who did not have many absolute skills, liked close combat very much. It seems that you are very confident in the strength of your body. Seeing Knight Saro approaching, Jihao laughed maniacally and transmitted a message to Lung Ningxin. Exen, let's begin. Okay, same as last time. Lung Ningxin nodded and immediately used an even more powerful ice element technique to freeze the surrounding space as soon as she got close to Yishan. At the same time, Jihao and Lung Ningxin took out their swords and performed their joint attack. Frost Bamboo Rain Sword. Between the heavens and the earth, countless rays of chilling sword chi were released. These sword chis were controlled by Lung Ningxin. They cut through the air and attacked Knight Saro continuously. This was much more powerful than her infinite frost rain. Faced with so many sword chi in this almost frozen space, Night Sorrow temporarily stopped in his tracks. He stood in the air and used Inferno Demon Subduing to resist the rain of sword chi. The Inferno Demon Subduing's flames were very hot and gradually melted the frozen space. However, this time, it did not completely incinerate the sword chis controlled by Lung Ningxin. The sword chis controlled by Lung Ningxin were still draining Night Sorrow's energy. At this moment, Ji Hao, whose aura and physical strength had obviously improved greatly, put away his sword and took the opportunity to approach Night Sorrow and attack him crazily. How did the two of them increase their strength by several times at the same time? At this moment, Ji Hao's physical strength had increased by more than 10 times compared to before. On the other side, Lung Ningxin, who was using her unique ice skills and frost bamboo, rain sword chis, to interfere with the fight, her aura also increased greatly. Night Sorrow felt more pressure fighting the two of them under such circumstances than when he faced Yin Jianan. This made him curious. He could not figure out how the two of them did it. Although he could not figure it out and felt the pressure, Night Sorrow was not completely at a disadvantage. While he was fighting Ji Hao, he found the right opportunity to attack Lung Ningxin. Samsara Strike. However, faced with the Reincarnation Spear, which was almost unavoidable, Lung Ningxin appeared next to Ji Hao with a telepathic thought. She successfully used this teleportation to dodge the attack. This was the first time Night Sorrow's Samsara Halberd missed its target in the God Realm, which surprised him. If that attack had hit Lung Ningxin, she would have been severely injured. In that case, Night Sorrow would have been able to deal with the encirclement. After dodging Night Sorrow's attack, Lung Ningxin immediately left Ji Hao's side. Ji Hao, on the other hand, attacked Night Sorrow again. At this moment, Night Sorrow had used Essence Smoke, Star's dominating body, and Power of Merit to gain a slight advantage. However, he could not defeat Ji Hao immediately because every time he used a killer move, Ji Hao would teleport to Lung Ningxin's side. The two of them could teleport to each other's side at will, which was naturally faster than Night Sorrow's attacks. This is troublesome. How'd they do it? Night Sorrow's Vanishing Shadow Void release was powerful, but it was not as powerful as Ji Hao's and Lung Ningxin's teleportation, which made him feel powerless. Every time he used a killer move, it was as if he was hitting cotton. However, although the Blue Phoenix armor had been damaged by Shun Yuan's dragon tail, it still had the defensive power of a lower great god. With the armor and his own amazing defensive power, Night Sorrow was not injured. He did not use 7-star Rampage unless he was in a desperate situation. During the battle, he had been carefully observing Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin's cooperation and analyzing how they worked together. However, he did not learn anything. Damn it! When did such a monster appear in the Heartless Realm? Ji Hao, who was fighting Night Sorrow, was actually more uncomfortable than Night Sorrow. It was the first time he had met a feather god whose body was stronger than his. At this point, Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin had already thought of retreating. After all, there was nothing good around them. This battle was purely a battle of wills. They did not want to use more powerful life-saving methods. At this moment, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. He noticed that his left eye was absorbing divine origin force on its own. He immediately remembered what Shun Yuan had said. Thinking of the Mirage Dragon's eye, Night Sorrow immediately cooperated with his left eye to absorb the divine origin force even faster. Soon, Night Sorrow's eye glowed. He saw that there was an invisible line between Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin. It must be this line that connects Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin. After analyzing the situation, Night Sorrow continued to attack Ji Hao while sending a message to Yun Tianyi. Cooperate with me later. Attack the spot between Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin. Okay, I will use my most powerful technique. Suddenly receiving Night Sorrow's message, Yun Tianyi, who had been watching on the sidelines, immediately perked up. However, he did not understand why Night Sorrow wanted him to attack the void. Now is the time. Attack now. Don't use your most powerful technique. Just be quick. Night Sorrow, who was fighting Ji Hao, suddenly gave the order. Chapter 2499. Under Night Sorrow's command, Yin Tianyi slashed at the line between Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin as if she had the eyes of a mirage dragon. Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin were trying to figure out a way to escape. They didn't expect Yin Tianyi to slash at the line between them. In an instant, the line between them was cut off by Yin Tianyi's sword chi. Before Night Sorrow could attack again, Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The frost bamboo rain swords in air were all shattered in an instant. The two of them had obviously suffered a fierce backlash. Forbidden Spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow found an opportunity to condense his divine essence energy and shoot a forbidden spear at Ji Hao. The spear was so powerful that it shook the void. Husband, use your life-saving talisman. Lung Ningxin shouted at the critical moment. She was afraid that Ji Hao wouldn't be willing to use their most powerful talisman. Go to hell. However, she had underestimated Ji Hao's determination. In the face of a life-and-death situation, Ji Hao didn't hesitate at all. He used his half-step Divine Lord talisman and attacked Night Sorrow. What a powerful talisman! This is the full power attack of a half-step Divine Lord. A half-step Divine Lord's attack was equivalent to a half-step Divine Lord's ultimate technique. It was different from a body-refining Divine Lord's attack. After the talisman appeared, it immediately locked onto Night Sorrow, making him feel a chill down his spine. Run. That was Night Sorrow's only thought. He could feel that if he was hit by the talisman, he would lose half his life even if he didn't die. It would take years for him to recover. Ha. You want to run? Do you think you can? The full power attack of a half-step Divine Lord isn't something a mid-level Divine Feather God like you can dodge. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate at all. He activated the 7-star Berserk Light Shaking Art, adjusting his body to its peak condition in order to dodge this attack. Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin both smiled cruelly when they saw Yi Shang running away like a madman. In their opinion, although they had used a life-saving talisman, killing a strong enemy was still beneficial for their trip to the cave. What they didn't know was that there were far more invincible feather gods than they had imagined. Moreover, it wasn't just one or two. Brother Yi, be careful. Seeing Night Sorrow crazily flee, Yin Tianyi felt his heart skip a beat. The aura of a half-step Divine Lord's all-out attack was so great that it caused his mind to tremble. While reminding Night Sorrow, Yin Tianyi didn't hesitate at all. She used a secret technique that had a huge backlash and fled the scene. There was no doubt that she would die if she faced Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin alone. She had no choice but to flee. Damn it, that piece of trash Yin Tianyi got away. Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin, who had been watching Night Sorrow, realized that Yin Tianyi had used a secret technique to escape. It was already too late for them to chase after her. Ji Hao cursed angrily. Lung Ningxin smiled coldly and said, "You said it yourself. He's just a piece of trash. It doesn't matter whether he escapes or not. Let's just watch the show." That's true. Even if he meets Yin Tianyi 200 times, he won't be able to defeat her. Ji Hao nodded and continued watching the Divine Talisman chase after Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who had activated the 7-star Berserk Light Shaking Art, used the Vanishing Shadow Void Escape Art to escape at an astonishing speed. However, there were countless arrays nearby. Although he had the help of the Mirage Dragon's Eye, his speed was still affected. He couldn't maintain his top speed all the time. Soon, the Divine Talisman, with a terrifying aura, was closing in on him. Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin, who were watching from afar, laughed out loud. They were looking forward to seeing Night Sorrow being destroyed by the Divine Talisman. I can't take it head-on. Why don't I hide in the array set up by the Divine Lord and use the array to consume some of the Divine Talisman's power? Night Sorrow, who was running for his life, realized that he couldn't escape. Suddenly, an idea came to him. He used the Mirage Dragons to find a path and went into the maze that Ji Hao and the others had just come out of. Boom! With a loud sound, the Divine Talisman heavily bombarded the array. It blasted a huge hole in the labyrinth formation that had astonishing defensive power. The divine talisman, which had lost most of its power, continued to chase after Night Sorrow, but it wasn't as powerful as before. After using the 7-star violent light shaking art, Night Sorrow adjusted himself to his strongest state. He no longer tried to dodge. He used the Samsara halberd and unleashed the Samsara strike, slamming it against the divine talisman. In an instant, the divine talisman was destroyed. Night Sorrow and the Samsara halberd didn't suffer much damage. The maze had a huge hole. Night Sorrow flew out of the maze to seek revenge on Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin. Run, run, use your secret techniques. Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin, who hadn't killed Night Sorrow even after using their trump cards, were scared out of their wits when they saw that Night Sorrow was fine. They didn't dare to stay any longer and used their secret techniques to escape. You're lucky. I'll kill you the next time I see you. With the help of the Sea Serpent Eye, Night Sorrow could catch up with Ji Hao and Lung Ningxin. However, he found that Yin Tianyi was in a bad condition and immediately chased after her. The unlucky Yin Tianyi was teleported into the territory of a group of bear-shaped skeletal puppets. These puppets were all low-level high gods. Yin Tianyi had used her secret technique and suffered a great backlash. She couldn't resist at all. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had hurried over at this moment. Taking advantage of the fact that the 7-star berserk had yet to dissipate, he unleashed his might and smashed all of the skeletal puppets to death. Brother Yi, it's you who saved me again. I don't know what to say. I'll follow you in the future. If it weren't for Night Sorrow, Yin Tianyi would have been killed in the Jinyuan Divine Lord's cave. As an expert on the Feather God list, he wasn't used to this kind of situation. Night Sorrow patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "You don't have to follow me. Protect Haibei City well in the future." Brother Yi, don't worry. I, Yin Tianyi, am rooted in Haibei City. Even if I die in battle, I won't abandon this city. One day, I'll restore it to its former glory. After the rise of the divine King Wuxin, Haibei City had been suppressed very badly. This caused everyone in the Dark Alliance to hold their breaths, especially Yin Tianyi, whose father was suppressed by Lang Chi Mountain. I believe in you. You'll do it sooner or later. This is a divine soul recovery pill. Take it quickly and recover. After Yin Tianyi suffered a backlash, Night Sorrow, who had taken 2 divine soul recovery pills, handed one to him to help him recover quickly. Thank you, Brother Yi. By the way, I haven't asked about your background. Where are you from, Brother Yi? Yin Tianyi asked, as the 2 of them were recovering and weren't in a hurry. At this point, he had gone through life and death with Night Sorrow. He wasn't as distant as before, so he blurted out these words. I'm from the lower realm. I just ascended to the god realm not long ago. The place where I ascended was near Haibei City. I haven't been to other areas yet. Night Sorrow didn't hold back and slowly revealed his background. You're an ascender. Yin Tianyi was surprised to hear Night Sorrow's words. He said, No wonder Brother Yi has the power of virtue protecting him. It seems like he's from the lower realm. Are there other ascenders in the god realm? Night Sorrow, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground and adjusting his state, asked curiously. Chapter 2500. Yes, of course. Ascenders who come to the god realm usually rise very quickly, and many of them make a name for themselves. The strongest person in the god realm now, Sovereign Tianyi, is from the lower realm. After saying this, Yin Tianyi smiled and said, Maybe Brother Yi can also become a sovereign in the future. When that happens, I, Yin Tianyi, can do whatever I want in the god realm. The sovereign position? I hope so. It was a little far from that level, but Night Sorrow's mind was very firm, and he felt that nothing was impossible. He asked, Can you introduce me to the sovereigns of the god realm? Of course. While recovering, Yin Tianyi said, Currently, there are a total of 7 known sovereigns in the god realm. They are Sovereign Tianyi, Sovereign Clear Sound, Sovereign Buddha, Sovereign Illustrious, Sovereign Dark Moon, Sovereign All Heaven, and 7-star. Now, most of the God realm is under their control. As for whether there are other sovereigns, I'm not sure. These sovereigns have varying reputations. After that, Yin Tianyi talked about the reputations of the 7 sovereigns, so that Night Sorrow had a certain understanding. As for the Divine King, who is under the 7 sovereigns, Yin Tianyi couldn't be familiar with him, so he didn't mention this matter. Now that he knew that Night Sorrow was an ascender, he had no background at all. Yin Tianyi then talked about some famous sects in the God realm. The strongest person in some sects was the Divine King, and some were even taken care of by the sovereigns. He suggested that Night Sorrow join such a powerful sect, make a name for himself, and be taken care of by the sect. After all, the God realm was very big, and there were many strong people. If one didn't have a background, it wouldn't be easy even if they were talented. I will seriously consider this matter. Hearing Yin Tianyi's suggestion, Night Sorrow nodded seriously. For someone like him who didn't have a background, this might be the best choice. Otherwise, if he offended the Divine Lord or the Divine King, he could easily be killed. Sects were different from God's domain. Night Sorrow could accept joining a sect and learning from a master. However, joining God's domain and becoming someone's subordinate was something he would never consider. If he were to join a sect, he would be able to receive the care of experts and find a peaceful place for his family. This was something he did not have the ability to do. If Brother Yi doesn't mind, I can recommend you to join my... As Yin Tianyi spoke up to this point, she suddenly exclaimed in surprise and said, I seem to feel something calling out to me. My heart is throbbing nonstop. Could it be a demonic spell? Night Sorrow, who had completely recovered, asked doubtfully. It doesn't look like it. I feel like my blood is surging, as if I'm being summoned by something familiar. Yin Tianyi got up. Guided by her inner feelings, she kept walking forward. Be careful. Night Sorrow, who was following behind Yin Tianyi, used the sea serpent's eye to observe the path he was taking. The two of them traveled more than 1,500 kilometers together and killed 2 lower-level, high god skeletal puppets. I can feel it. The thing that led me here is in the grave. After traveling another 250 kilometers, Yin Tianyi finally stopped. In front of him was a very inconspicuous grave. The aura in the grave is very peaceful. There's no danger. It should be an opportunity. Night Sorrow observed with the sea serpent's eye and didn't sense any dangerous aura. Since it's an opportunity, I'll give it to Brother Yi. It's also a way to repay you for saving my life. Yin Tianyi's heart kept throbbing, but she didn't make a move. She was prepared to give the opportunity to Night Sorrow. In response, Night Sorrow smiled and refused. This belongs to you. I won't steal a friend's opportunity. Hearing this, Yin Tianyi wanted to say something, but a nearly transparent soul suddenly floated out of the grave. This soul looked somewhat similar to Yin Tianyi, but it had a beard and looked much calmer. Your grandpa? Seeing this soul, Yin Tianyi's voice immediately trembled. Yin Changhe had gone missing when Yin Tianyi was very young. The Yin family thought that he had been subdued by someone. They didn't expect him to appear here, and he was already in a soul state. Obviously, he had fallen. Tianyi, it's me. Yin Changhe's soul shadow revealed a smile. He handed him a drop of crystal clear blood essence and said, This is the blood essence of our Yin family. It came from the Divine King. Now, Grandpa will give it to you. From now on, you're the new patriarch of the Yin family. Grandpa, how did you fall here? How can I save you? Yin Tianyi, who didn't reach out to take the blood essence, knelt on the ground and asked in a trembling voice. Back then, when Grandpa had just broken through to the invincible divine feather realm, I was chased by people from Longqi Mountain. By chance, I escaped here. I didn't expect to fall here. Grandpa's soul wasn't destroyed to be resurrected, but to stay here and wait for the descendants of our Yin family. Now that I've given you the blood essence, Grandpa can die in peace. Yin Changhe's soul phantom was very weak and was about to dissipate. It wasn't that he didn't want to be resurrected, but there was no time to wait for a turn of events. Child, tell Grandpa about your family situation. Yin Tianyi was a little sad. Yin Changha said with a smile. He wanted to hear about his family situation in his last moments. Grandpa, Yin Tianyi, who knew that it was impossible to save Yin Changha, couldn't help but cry. Choking with sobs, she told Grandpa about the current situation of the Yin family. She swore, "Grandpa, don't worry. I'll definitely save Father." "Good child. Grandpa knows that you're filial." However, with our Yun family's ability, going against the divine King Wuxin is undoubtedly a dead end. Yin Chang'a sighed and said, "Grandpa suggests that you take the Yun family out of Haibei City, out of the Wuxin divine domain, and even out of the territory ruled by the Dark Moon. Find another way to develop." "Grandpa, I can move my family out of the Wuxin divine domain, but I'll never leave. If it wasn't for Wuxin suppression, Yun Changhe wouldn't have fallen in the Jinyuan Divine Lord's cave, and his father wouldn't have been suppressed." Yun Tianyi's hatred for Wuxin had become his motivation to become stronger. "Sai, if that's the case, you should absorb the blood essence well and quickly break through to the High God realm, or even the Divine Lord realm." Yun Changhe wanted to continue to persuade and say a few words to Night Sorrow, but his soul phantom couldn't hold on any longer. After saying that, it completely disappeared. Seeing her grandfather's soul disappearing before her eyes, Yun Tianyi, who was holding the blood essence in her hand, burst into tears. "My condolences. If you don't want the Yun family to live in Wuxin's shadow forever, the only thing you need to do is to become stronger, so strong that you can go against Wuxin." Yun Tianyi cried very sadly. Night Sorrow, who also cherished his family, could empathize with her. After a moment of silence, he spoke to persuade her. "Yes, I must quickly become stronger and not let my family continue to be oppressed. Wuxin, I'll definitely kill you with my own hands." Hearing the persuasion, Yun Tianyi wiped her tears and sat on the ground, absorbing the Divine King's blood essence in her palm. "Don't do it here." Night Sorrow wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Chapter 25:01. Soon, Yun Tianyi, who had absorbed the Divine King's blood essence, emitted a thick blood aura. This was clearly too rash. Because the blood aura was too exuberant, the aura that soared into the sky could not be concealed at all. In an instant, the entire plain was alarmed. Not long after, a group of cultivators was attracted. It was Qing Qingzi, Ming Zhu, and Huang Lai and Yin Samping, who were ranked 41st and 48th respectively. They had just come out of a trapping array when they immediately discovered the blood aura that soared into the sky. "It seems like someone is absorbing the blood essence. Let's hurry over and take a look. If the opponent isn't strong, we'll directly snatch it." Standing thousands of miles away, Huang Lai noticed the scene of blood light soaring into the sky and brought the others closer. When they were still 1,500 miles away, they saw Yun Tianyi absorbing the blood essence, and only Night Sorrow was protecting her. Huang Lai immediately said excitedly, "This is the Divine King's blood essence. If we can snatch it, there is hope for the future Divine King. Let's go." To the invincible Feather God, there were not many things that could interest him. The Divine King's blood essence was clearly one of them. "Young Sectmaster, don't be rash. Think about it. When we were at the top of the mountain just now, we saw the two of them being chased by Yin Jianan and the others. Now that they are here intact, it proves that their strength is very likely not inferior to Yin Jianan and the others. Yun Tianyi's strength is not considered strong, which means that Night Sorrow is definitely not easy to deal with." Seeing that Huang Lai was about to make a move, Qing Qingzi hurriedly advised. Hearing this, Huang Lai stopped and nodded. "There is indeed such a possibility." Qing Qingzi continued. "Moreover, Night Sorrow is the virtuous Feather God. If the person who deals with him succeeds, it will be good, as they will obtain his providence. If they don't succeed, they will be plagued with bad luck. It is not something that ordinary cultivators can withstand." "Samping, what do you think?" Huang Lai felt that Qing Qingzi's words made sense. He looked at Yin Samping, wanted to ask him what he meant. In fact, the Divine King's blood essence was too tempting for him. He was really unwilling to give it up. If we were outside, I would choose to make a move. However, there were too many variables in the Divine Lord Jinyuan's cave dwelling. Rather than snatching it, it was better to help them. Night Sorrow is the feather god of merit. If you help him, you might get some good luck. Yin Samping pondered for a moment and voiced his opinion. His strength was about the same as Huang Lai's, but he had always been willing to be a supporting character. However, the two of them had worked together for many years, and most of the time, he was the one who came up with the ideas. That does make sense. The virtuous feather god is indeed very strange. Most people who oppose him don't have a good ending. Ming Ju, who had been silent all this while, chimed in. That's right. If we act rashly, I'm afraid the gains will not make up for the losses. At this moment, Qing Mingzi recalled the conflict between Night Sorrow and the Jubao Pavilion. He immediately understood that Night Sorrow definitely hadn't lowered his head to Feng Xiaoyun. Since that's what you all think, let's go over and help. At the very least, I won't be his enemy in the cave. Huang Lai, who listened to everyone's opinion, nodded. While they were discussing this matter, Yin Tiany's soaring blood qi had already attracted 3 skeleton puppets. These skeletons were quickly killed by Night Sorrow. Facing these skeletons, Night Sorrow was extremely fierce. He didn't want to drag things out and affect Yin Tiany negatively. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't hold back and easily killed these skeletons, Huang Lai and the others were even more certain of their thoughts. When they were close to Qianli, Qing Mingzi transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Master Night Sorrow, we're here to help. We want to form good karma. If you want to form good karma, stop immediately. Seeing that Huang Lai, Yin Sangping, and the others were getting closer and closer, Night Sorrow immediately stopped them. All right, we'll help you clean up the skeletons attracted by Yun Tiany outside. If there are cultivators coveting it, we won't stand by and do nothing. Qing Mingzi, who received Huang Lai's instructions, continued to communicate with Night Sorrow. If you could do as you say, I'll be very grateful. The skeleton puppets seemed to be very sensitive to the blood qi and kept rushing over. If there were people helping, Night Sorrow's pressure would be reduced by a lot. After he replied, he continued to fight the skeleton puppets that surrounded him. As time passed, more and more skeleton puppets were attracted by the blood qi. Although Night Sorrow was powerful, he couldn't handle it all. Now's the time. Help! Huang Lai and the others, who had waited for an opportunity, fought with the skeleton puppets outside, immediately alleviating the pressure on Night Sorrow. During the battle, they stayed outside and didn't get close to Yun Tiany. After fighting fiercely with the skeleton puppets for a while, Night Sorrow, Huang Lai, and Yun Samping gradually formed a tacit understanding. They formed a triangle and surrounded Yun Tiany. Ming Ju and Qing Mingzi supported them. They were still a bit weak. The situation was stabilized for the time being. Occasionally, an upper god skeleton puppet would appear, and Night Sorrow, Huang Lai, and the others would work together to kill it. Yun Tiany's blood qi became denser and denser. He kept absorbing the Divine King's blood, making his aura stronger and stronger. There was no doubt that when he finished absorbing the blood qi, his strength would increase qualitatively. At the same time, the Divine King's blood qi that was being absorbed shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yun Tiany should be able to finish absorbing it soon. Thank you so much for this time. Night Sorrow, who was taking a short breather, saw the Divine King's blood qi being absorbed quickly and expressed his gratitude. This time, without Huang Lai and the others' help, he might not have been able to hold on. After that, the number of skeletons attracted by the blood qi decreased, and their strength increased. However, even if there were upper god skeletons, Night Sorrow, Huang Lai, and the others could still work together to kill them, so there wasn't much pressure on them. At this time, Yun Tiany's absorption was coming to an end. There was only a tiny bit of the Divine King's blood qi left. He estimated that in less than 2 hours, he would finish absorbing it. But at this time, Yishang saw a half-step divine Lord Bone ape in the distance, shaking the heavens as it hurried over. This skeleton ape was very large, at least 1,000 feet tall. With every step it took, the ground would tremble, intimidating the other skeleton puppets so much that they didn't dare to move. It was clear that it was the absolute king of this area. A half-step divine Lord Skeleton Ape. What do we do? It's not something we can kill. Seeing the half-step divine Lord Skeleton Ape approach step by step, Huang Lai and the others sucked in a cold breath. They didn't have any experience facing a half-step divine lord, and they were already panicking before the battle even began. Everyone, I will tie down this skeleton ape. Help me look after Yun Tianyi. If the situation turns bad, you can take the initiative to run away. No matter what, I, Knight Sorrow, will remember today's matter. The situation was critical. The good news was that after the half-step divine Lord Skeleton Ape appeared, the other skeleton puppets didn't dare to move. Moreover, with Yun Tianyi absorbed here, it was meaningless for Huang Lai and the others to try and snatch it away. However, it was unrealistic for Huang Lai and the others to face the half-step divine Lord Skeleton Ape. It was already good enough that they were willing to help. It was impossible for them to risk their lives. Chapter 25:02. The half-step god lords that Knight Sorrow had faced in the past were all lacking in strength. Whether it was the dark creatures in the darkness domain or the soul-devouring beast in the cave abode, they all had significant flaws. Although the bone ape in front of him was a skeleton puppet, it was a true half-step godlord. Whether it was the power of its soul or divine origin energy, it had been cultivated to perfection and was very strong. Facing such an opponent, Knight Sorrow immediately activated Essence Chi Smoke, Star's hegemonic body, and used Virtue Power and 7-star Berserk Alcade. He adjusted himself to his best state and charged forward. He had the Sea Serpent eye and could see through some of the surrounding arrays. He was prepared to use the arrays to do something. Raging Flames subdues demons. Knight Sorrow, who had soared into the air, was still far away from the bone ape when he used Raging Flames subdues demons to block its path and prevent it from charging at Yun Tianyi. Oh, the indomitable bone ape was immediately enraged when it was blocked by the vigorous flames. It roared at the sky and chased after Knight Sorrow. What strength! Knight Sorrow, who had lured the bone ape away, was chased by it. He immediately felt as if his soul was being locked on. The bone ape's soul was clearly at the half-step god lord level. It was not something that he could fight against. He definitely could not escape if he tried to escape like this. Knight Sorrow dove into an array set up by God, Lord Jinyuan, to block the bone ape's attack, just like when he faced the half-step god Lord Divine Talisman. Boom! The bone ape, who had caught up, swung the giant spike club in its hand and slammed it into the array. The spike club was surrounded by a blue light. This was the bone ape's divine origin energy. When it hit the array's barrier, it immediately pierced through it. After piercing through the array's barrier, the spike club went straight for Knight Sorrow. What a powerful aura! Knight Sorrow wanted to take this attack head-on, but he gave up on this idea for the sake of the overall situation. He used the Void Vanishing Shadow to quickly dodge this attack. Human Cultivator. Die. Not only did the bone ape fail to hit Knight Sorrow, but it also suffered a backlash from the formation. It immediately flew into a rage and shouted the word die. Although it was a puppet, it had a certain level of intelligence and was different from the other puppets in the cave. At the same time, it spat out a mouthful of icy blue flames, which covered the entire formation. Knight Sorrow, who was in the middle of the formation, had no way of escaping the blue flames that spread for thousands of miles. He was directly burned. However, the Azure Phoenix battle armor was refined by Jingyun. It was innately impervious to flames. In fact, it could even absorb the flames to heal the injuries caused by the Mirage Sphere. Roar! The bone ape's blue flames had been nurtured by absorbing the essence of the cave abode over several reincarnations. Not only did it not injure Knight Sorrow, but it was also continuously absorbed by the blue Phoenix battle armor. This made it even more furious. He leaped into the air and used his ultimate skill, Golden Ape Suppression. This move was an ultimate skill that the bone ape had mastered when it was alive. After it was refined into a puppet, it inherited it. After using it, its body emitted a blinding golden light. As this golden light spread out, it enveloped Night Sorrow along with its divine domain. Night Sorrow, who was suppressed by the bone ape's divine domain, could not circulate his divine yuan force smoothly. This feeling was very uncomfortable, as if he had fallen into a quagmire. Is this the strength of a true half-step divine lord? It is indeed difficult to deal with. The difference in strength between the two was huge. Their divine domains were not on the same level. After circulating his power of virtue, Night Sorrow felt slightly better. He guessed that this bone ape should be the limit of what he could face. If it was any stronger, his power of virtue would not be effective. Oh, after using its divine domain to envelop Night Sorrow, the bone ape suddenly jumped down from the sky and directly stomped on Night Sorrow's position. This move was obviously more powerful than the mace from before. Night Sorrow, who had just regained his freedom of movement, knew that he could not take it head-on. He used Vanishing Shadow Void Escape and hid in an illusory array set up by Divine Lord Jin Yuan. Boom! Just as Night Sorrow hid in the illusory array, the bone ape, whose ferocious nature was completely unleashed, stomped down. The first stomp from the sky shattered the defense of the illusory array. The second stomp was aimed at Night Sorrow. Come on, Samsara Strike. The bone ape's attack was extremely ferocious. Although it looked like a golden body attack, it actually contained the suppression of a divine domain. Night Sorrow, who could not dodge in time, could only choose to take it head-on. He used the Samsara halberd to strike the Samsara Strike into the sky. After being hit by the Samsara Strike, the bone ape's aura was slightly weakened. However, it did not stop and stomp down, causing the entire illusory array to sink more than 500 miles. With this stomp, Night Sorrow is likely to die. Our good karma can't be formed. Huang Lai, who was watching from afar, was unhappy when he saw Night Sorrow get stomped by the bone ape. He felt that it was a waste of energy. Furthermore, the current Yin Tianyi basically already finished absorbing the divine king blood essence. There was no meaning in him snatching it either. Hence, he opened his mouth and said, "This half-step divine Lord Realm Bone ape strength is too strong. It's not what we can contend with. Everyone, hurry up and escape together with me." Okay, let's go straight to the Blue Stone Palace. This bone ape's next target is definitely Yin Tianyi. We should have a high chance of escaping. Let's go. Yin Tsomping immediately agreed. The bone ape was too ferocious. He did not want to stay for even a moment. Qing Mingzi and Ming Ju were also very afraid. They followed behind Huang Lai and Yin Tsomping and fled in the direction of the Blue Stone Palace. Just as Yin Tsomping had predicted, after the bone ape attacked Night Sorrow, it immediately turned back and rushed towards the place where Yin Tianyi was absorbing the Divine King's blood essence. The Divine King's blood essence was very attractive to the bone ape. If it could successfully snatch it away, it was very likely that it would rise to the Divine Lord realm. Roar! Yin Tianyi's blood energy surged. He was still absorbing the blood essence of his ancestor, the Divine King, but there was no one around him to protect him. The bone ape approached and grabbed at Yin Tianyi, wanting to swallow him along with the blood essence. Bastard! How dare you covet the blood essence of the Divine King? Scram! Just as the bone ape was about to grab Yin Tianyi, a phantom rushed out of his body and sent the bone ape flying with a palm strike. The bone ape, whose arm had been shattered by this palm strike, immediately fled in fright. Although the strength of the phantom that attacked, it was at the Divine Lord realm. Its aura was indeed at the Divine King realm. The bone ape did not dare to face it. At this moment, Yin Tianyi slowly opened his eyes. Seeing the phantom in front of him, he immediately asked in shock, "You are the ancestor, the Divine King of the Cloud Wilderness?" "Yes. However, we could talk about this later. The attack just now drained me too much. I need to recover." The imposing phantom nodded and pointed at the place where Night Sorrow was stepped on by the Bone Ape. The people of the Yun clan need to repay kindness. Just now, your friend took a hit from the half-step divine Lord Bone Ape in order to save you. We don't know if he's dead or alive. Quickly go and find him. With that, he flew back into Yun Tiany's body. Clearly, he was different from Yin Changhe. He was not at the end of his life yet. Brother Yi, nothing must happen to you. Chapter 25:03. However, when Yin Tiany entered the broken illusory array, she only saw a huge footprint and did not find Night Sorrow. She did not find him at all. When Yin Tiany realized that he had recklessly absorbed the blood essence of a god king and even attracted the attention of a half-step divine Lord Bone Ape, he was extremely vexed. In the pit that the Bone Ape had created, he continuously swung his sword to vent his anger. In the end, she could not find any clues. She walked towards a greenstone palace to see if Night Sorrow had gone there. It hurts. At this time, Night Sorrow was in a dark sealed space. He slowly opened his eyes. The moment he woke up, Night Sorrow felt a tearing pain all over his body. It was as if every bone in his body had been broken. The half-step divine Lord Skeletal Ape Stomp had almost crushed him. Where is this? Why am I here? Night Sorrow's body was in pain. His body was severely injured, but his spirit sea was not injured. He used his spirit power to explore his surroundings. After exploring, Night Sorrow discovered that he was in a square sealed space. It was empty except for him and the Samsara halberd. He reached for the medicine bottle on his belt. He wanted to take some pills to heal his injuries, but he found that the medicine bottle had all been crushed. Even the spirit recovery pill could not be found. Without pills, I can only recover slowly. I wonder how Yin Tiany is now. Night Sorrow, who struggled to get up, sat down on the ground and began to heal his body. After being stepped on by the skeletal ape, he fainted. When he woke up, he was in this place. He did not know the cause and effect. He prepared to completely heal his body and used the Samsara halberd to attack the walls of the sealed space. This was the only way he could think of to escape. After spending 2 years, Night Sorrow's body had completely healed. This time, his body was completely broken and rebuilt. After recovering, it was much stronger. Samsara Strike, Forbidden Spear, Raging Flames, Demon Subduing. After his body had completely healed, Night Sorrow continuously attacked the walls of the sealed space. He used the Samsara halberd to bombard it from top to bottom, left to right, but to no avail. Am I going to be trapped here forever? No, absolutely not. There are still many things waiting for him to do. How could Night Sorrow be willing to be trapped here? He activated the Vital Essence Smoke Signal, the star's tyrant body, and the power of merit to bombard the barrier again. However, the result was that he still couldn't shake the barrier of the sealed space. What's going on? Could this be a cage in a cave? Is it specially used to imprison cultivators? As a feather god who could go anywhere, Night Sorrow felt very depressed being locked up in such a confined space. Since he did not gain anything from using brute force, he used his left eye to absorb the divine essence energy. He activated the sea serpent's eye and carefully observed this sealed space. There are formation patterns. After activating the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow immediately saw a complete array formation diagram on the barrier of the sealed space. Compared to what he had seen from the gravel in the passageway and the stones in the hall, the formation patterns were much clearer. Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. It can use the Divine Essence energy to form an array with a thought and lock the opponent in the array. It is divided into the Feather God level, the High God level, and the Divine Lord level. Seeing the description of the array formation, Night Sorrow immediately became excited. What he was fighting now, his methods were relatively simple. If he could master this array formation, it would definitely become a trump card. This array formation was obviously more useful than ordinary ultimate arts. When used, it could imprison the opponent or even directly seal them. Learn. I have to learn this. This array formation was very useful, and Night Sorrow felt that if he learned it, he might have a chance to break out of the sealed space. He immediately used the sea serpent's eye to carefully observe the composition of the array formation. Night Sorrow's comprehension was originally very high, and he had drunk a lot of enlightenment wine in the Endless Bone region. When learning the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, his progress was rather fast. In less than a year, he could use the Divine Essence energy to set up the Feather God level Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. Open. After learning the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, Night Sorrow immediately saw the door to the sealed space and used the Divine Essence energy to directly disperse it. The sealed space shattered, and he appeared in a core world full of lava. Very good. Among the cultivators who entered the cave abode, your comprehension is indeed the highest. The Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array has a successor, so I can go in peace. What appeared in front of Night Sorrow was a phantom of Divine Lord Jinyuan. He said a sentence and dissipated between heaven and earth. Divine Lord. When Night Sorrow saw Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom, he immediately called out, but it was already too late. At the same time the phantom disappeared, a sentence sounded in his ear. If you want to enter the Greenstone Palace, you have to kill the half-step Divine Lord Realmbone Ape and obtain the key to open the palace. If you want to obtain the opportunity, hurry and think of a way. Without waiting for Night Sorrow to react, he had already returned to the deep pit created by the Bone Ape. In a flash, more than 3 years have passed. I wonder if Yin Tianyi is still alive. After being trampled, he had directly appeared in the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. Now that he had returned, Night Sorrow did not know about Yin Tianyi's situation. Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom had said that to enter the Greenstone Palace, one had to first kill the half-step Divine Lord Realmbone Ape. This meant that in order to obtain the letter, Night Sorrow had to destroy that colossus. With his strength, it was impossible for him to do so. He could only think of a way to find helpers. Moreover, it was basically impossible for others to kill the Bone Ape. They could not enter the Greenstone Palace, so they should be searching for opportunities nearby. After walking out of the illusion array, Night Sorrow came to the place where Yin Tianyi had absorbed the Divine King's blood essence. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while and returned to the illusion array to take a closer look. He discovered many sword marks and confirmed that Yin Tianyi was not dead at that time. Therefore, he began searching the plains. However, after searching for more than half a month, Night Sorrow did not encounter Yin Tianyi, Huang Lai, or the others. Fortunately, he headed in the direction of the Greenstone Palace. There are sounds of fighting. I finally see people. After traveling for 5 days in the direction of the Bluestone Palace, Night Sorrow killed quite a few skeletal puppets. Finally, at noon, they heard the sounds of cultivators fighting in an ancient forest that stretched up to the sky. Night Sorrow flew out of the ancient forest and immediately rushed in the direction of the sounds of fighting. Soon, he saw the two sides fighting beside a lake that occupied an area of about 100 miles. In the center of the lake, there were 2 women fighting. One of them was wearing a red palace dress and holding a blood-red silk. At this moment, she had the upper hand and was constantly attacking. The one she was suppressing was a beautiful woman who was completely naked. The woman was tall and curvy, and her body was covered with sparkling and translucent water droplets. It was obvious that she had suffered a sneak attack while bathing in the lake, causing her to be unarmed and naked. Being suppressed, her face was flushed red. Clearly, she was embarrassed and angry. She wanted to return to the shore to retrieve her clothes and divine artifact, but she was suppressed to the point that she had no chance at all. See no evil. See no evil. Seeing this scene, Night Sorrow immediately retreated in embarrassment and prepared to change his path. Chapter 2504. Chen Xiuyue, you're courting death. Today Yao Shi will kill you. Hearing Chen Xiuyue's evil teasing, Yao Shi, who was ranked 9th on the Feather God list with Chun Xiuyue and was known as one of the two beauties of the Feather God realm in the Dark Moon's Dominator region, became completely cold. A male cultivator appeared. Yaoshi condensed her divine essence and turned it into a light blue protective mist. Her whole body seemed to be covered in a layer of mist. This had some impact on her strength, but she had no other choice. At the same time, she struck several hand blades made of divine essence in Chun Xiuyue's direction. We've been fighting for more than a year or two. When have we not been evenly matched? Otherwise, we wouldn't be ranked 9th on the Feather God list. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. Facing Yao Shi's hand blades, Chun Xiuyue easily used the red armillary sash in her hand to shatter them. She pretended to look in Knight Soro's direction and teased, "Look at that male cultivator. His eyes are fixed on you. It seems that our fairy Yao, she is quite something. What the hell is he looking at?" Hearing this, Knight Soro, who had already turned around and ran away, muttered speechlessly. He didn't have the hobby of peeking, so he chose to leave immediately. "You deserve to die." Being teased like this, Yaoshi attacked again in shame and anger, but she was completely naked. She didn't have a defensive robe or a divine artifact, and her mind was in a mess. How could she have the upper hand? She was quickly suppressed again. She wanted to go back to the shore and put on her clothes, but she didn't have the chance. After all, in her normal state, she was only on par with Chun Xiuyue every time. It was normal for her to be at a disadvantage now. At this time, she felt helpless in her shame and anger. I'm not sure if I'll die or not, but you'll definitely be more famous in the Dark Moon Dominator's area." Chun Xiuyue took the initiative and teased Yaoshi. Then, she waved her hand and shot a flame toward Yaoshi's clothes. "Oomph. My robe is a taboo divine tier magic robe. Do you think you can destroy it with your nondescript flames?" Yaoshi, who was extremely confident in the robe, ignored Chun Xiuyue's flames and attacked her again. She wanted to use this opportunity to suppress her and find an opportunity to get closer to the robe and the divine artifact. Who said I wanted to burn your clothes? If Fairy Yaoshi's undergarment were to be auctioned, TSK, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price. When Chun Xiuyue saw that Yaoshi had not been able to disperse the flame she had conjured, a triumphant smile appeared on her face. The flame she shot out suddenly turned into a goshawk. It picked up Yaoshi's white silk belly band and quickly flew into the sky. "You're shameless." Seeing her belly band being taken away, Yaoshi was so angry that her face turned ashen. At this time, she was blocked by Chun Xiuyue and couldn't catch up. She could only watch as the goshawk flew away. After thinking for a while, Yaoshi, who had no other choice, sent a voice transmission to Knight Soro. "Friend, please take my clothes back from the goshawk. I, Yaoshi, am a grateful person. I will remember your favor this time." Knight Soro, who didn't expect Yaoshi to send a voice transmission to him, was already some distance away. Hearing Yaoshi's voice transmission, he suddenly had an idea. This Yaoshi is an expert ranked 9th on the God of Feathers list. If she helps, it will be much easier for me to kill the bone ape. Guyu, a half-step divine lord, wasn't someone he could deal with alone. With an additional helper, he had a higher chance of killing the bone ape. Thinking of this, Knight Soro replied, "Okay, I can help you get your clothes back, but the condition is that you help me once. What do you think?" Yin Jiannan, ranked 27th on the God of Feathers list, was quite strong. He guessed that the 9th-ranked Yaoshi's strength must be terrifying. She might even be stronger than him. "I can promise you that, but I won't help the evildoer do something shameless for you." Yaoshi, who was confronting Chun Xiuyue, immediately agreed without hesitation. She knew that if she didn't agree, the belly band would disappear. "It's a deal." After receiving Yaoshi's affirmation, Knight Soro immediately used the Void Vanishing Shadow escape and chased after the Fire Hawk. This Fire Hawk was casually created by Chun Xiuyue. It wasn't very fast, and it didn't have much fighting strength. Soon, he caught up to the Fire Hawk and took back Yaoshi's white belly band. "Oh, Weren't you being quite honest just now? After Night Sorrow took the belly band, Chun Shiyue teased her. Yao Shi, who knew that Night Sorrow was helping her, was so angry that her face turned purple. I've taken your things. How can I return them to you? Night Sorrow, who had snatched the belly band, immediately sent a sound transmission to Yao Shi. Yao Shi, who received the sound transmission, helplessly replied, "Wait a moment. I'll see if I can find a way to shake Qin Qiuyue off." After saying this, Yao Shi used a secret technique to shake off Qin Qiuyue, but she still didn't succeed. If I help you control her and let you successfully put on your clothes and take back the divine artifact, can you help me get something from this trip to the cave residence? Seeing that Yao Shi couldn't shake off Chun Qiuyue, Night Sorrow, who was about 1,000 miles away, sent another sound transmission. He felt that if he could get Yao Shi's help, his chances of getting the letter from the Divine Lord of Jinyuan would be much higher. You want to stop Chun Qiuyue with the strength of a mid-level divine feather? You have to know that she's an expert ranked in the top 10 of the divine feather list. She can destroy your divine soul with a casual strike. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yao Shi was clearly tempted. However, she didn't believe that Night Sorrow had the ability to stop Qin Qiuyue. After all, she and Qin Qiuyue were the rulers of the divine realm of the Dark Moon. They were the strongest fighters in the divine feather realm. You don't have to think about this. You just have to choose whether you agree or not. Night Sorrow wasn't confident that he could defeat an expert ranked in the top 10 of the divine feather list. However, he felt that it wouldn't be too difficult to stop her. What do you want? If it's the Divine Lord of Jinyuan's soul-strengthening method, I won't agree. It's my chance to shake off Qin Qiuyue. Yao Shi, who was fighting, immediately responded. Her ultimate goal in this trip to the cave residence was to obtain this soul-strengthening method of the Divine Lord of Jinyuan. Naturally, she wouldn't give in. What I want is the letter in the deepest part of the Divine Lord of Jinyuan's cave residence, Night Sorrow explained. He then asked, "It's up to you whether you want me to help. I won't take advantage of you. Besides, if I help you, I'll be risking offending Qin Qiuyue. You have to understand this. In exchange for your help, it's not too much to ask. All right, I'll believe you this once." Yao Shi didn't know where Night Sorrow's confidence came from, but she had no other choice. She agreed without hesitation. "Don't worry, I'll get you out of this predicament very soon." After replying to Yao Shi, Night Sorrow walked out of the forest and returned to the lakeside. Standing on the ground, he looked at Chun Qiuyue, who was still fighting, and said, "Fairy Qiuyue, Fairy Yao, she has already lost all face today. Why don't you let her off? Let her put her clothes back on, and the two of you can have a fair fight. What do you think? Mid-level divine feather realm ant. Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? I'll give you 3 breaths of time to get out of your majesty's sight. Otherwise, I'll kill you." Chapter 2505. Her tone was full of disdain and contempt. Obviously, she thought that Night Sorrow was like a dog to her. He had no right to speak. "You want my life?" Qin Qiuyue's arrogance made Night Sorrow laugh. "You can try. I want to see just how strong you are as someone ranked in the top 10 of the Feather Gods list." He was going to persuade Qin Qiuyue to stop. If that failed, he would at most stop her. He didn't expect that she would look down on him like this. This immediately aroused his fighting spirit. The top 10 on the Feather God list were definitely not easy to deal with, but Night Sorrow wasn't afraid. "You don't know what's good for you." Qin Qiuyue, who was fighting Yao Shi, threw a silver needle at Night Sorrow's face. Although this was a casual attack from Qin Qiuyue, it was more than enough to kill an upper-level Feather God. She thought that it would be easy to kill Night Sorrow. "You want to kill me with this attack?" Qin Qiuyue's silver needle could deal with an upper-level Feather God, but it was no threat to Night Sorrow. He caught it with 2 fingers and threw it at Qin Qiuyue. This attack was obviously several times stronger than Qin Qiuyue's. It had the strength of an invincible Feather God. "Oh, you're strong. I underestimated you." Qin Qiuyue, who was fighting Yao Shi, used her body movement to dodge this attack. She obviously didn't expect Night Sorrow to have the strength of an invincible feather god. Her expression changed, and she threatened, "Get out of here if you know what's good for you. Your Majesty can ignore what just happened. Otherwise, you're nothing in front of me. Don't put on airs with me." It would have been fine if Chun Qiuyue didn't threaten him. As soon as she spoke, Night Sorrow used Vital Essence Smoke and Star's hegemonic body. He also took out the Samsara halberd and slashed. In an instant, he cut through the void and went straight for Chun Qiuyue. "You're courting death." Seeing Night Sorrow attack, Chun Qiuyue felt that she was being provoked. She immediately became furious and attacked him with a red armillary sash in her hand. The red armillary sash was of the same level as the Samsara halberd. They collided and ended in a tie. When Yao Shi saw that Chun Qiuyue and Yishang were engaged in battle, she immediately seized the opportunity to rush to the lakeside. In a naked battle, she was completely unable to let loose, and her battle prowess could not even reach 60%. At this moment, she realized something. Although she couldn't summon her clothes just now, she could summon her divine equipment in battle. Frosty Brow. I was so angry that I made such a stupid mistake. Yao Shi had always been known as a fairy in the realm of the gods. Today, she was in such a predicament. She was obviously unstable in the battle and made such a mistake. It's impossible for you to kill me with such a powerful attack. Come, let me see what kind of strength you have. Someone ranked in the top 10 of the Feather Gods list. At the same time, Night Sorrow and Chun Qiuyue were still fighting. Chun Qiuyue's attack was about the same level as Jian Nanshan's. Obviously, she was still holding back. Night Sorrow didn't even use the power of merit to block the attack. So you're in the top 30 of the God of Feathers list. After Night Sorrow blocked the attack, Chun Qiuyue's expression immediately became serious. She originally thought that she could kill Night Sorrow in one move. Even if Yao Shi put on her clothes, she could still escape unscathed. However, if Night Sorrow didn't die and cooperated with Yao Shi, he would be a huge threat to her. Looks like I have to use some method to kill him. Yao Shi returned to the lakeside to put on her clothes. It would probably only take a few seconds. Chun Qiuyue felt that she had to kill Night Sorrow before she returned to the battle. Therefore, she used a secret technique without hesitation and adjusted her divine realm to its strongest state. She threw out the red armillary sash and used an ultimate technique. Samsara Strike. In the face of Chun Qiuyue's attack, Night Sorrow used the power of merit and adjusted himself to his best state. He used the Samsara halberd to attack with the Samsara Strike. The golden spear light from the Samsara halberd collided with the red light from the red armillary sash. After the Samsara Strike, the aura of the red armillary sash weakened. However, Chun Qiuyue was ranked in the top 10 of the God of Feathers list. Although the aura of the red armillary sash weakened, it successfully entangled the Samsara halberd and fixed it in the air. Then, it split into 8 parts and attacked Night Sorrow. The fixed Samsara halberd immediately released flames. However, it didn't burn the red armillary sash. It didn't even burn it. Obviously, the level of the red armillary sash was higher than the flames of the Samsara halberd. Night Sorrow, who couldn't retrieve the Samsara halberd, could only face Chun Qiuyue's red armillary sash with his bare hands. Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. It was obviously impossible to take Chun Qiuyue's red armillary sash head-on. At this moment, Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent Eye to see the trajectory of the red armillary sash and Chun Qiuyue's location. He used his divine essence to form an array with a thought. He directly trapped Chun Qiuyue in the divine essence dragon locking array. After losing Chun Qiuyue's control, the red armillary sash's power immediately weakened. Night Sorrow easily took it. What kind of move is this? After being trapped in the divine essence dragon locking array by Night Sorrow, Chun Qiuyue immediately activated her divine essence, wanting to shatter the sealed space. However, the sealed space formed by the divine essence dragon locking array was undamaged. How can this be? After failing to shatter the sealed space with her divine essence, Chun Shuyue immediately condensed her divine essence into her palm and continuously attacked the barrier of the divine essence dragon locking array. After being attacked continuously, the divine essence dragon locking array was quickly shaken. Speaking of which, Knight Soro's cultivation level was still too low. He was only a middle-level feather god. His divine essence was too different from Chun Shuyue's. The strength of the divine essence dragon locking array was limited. After being attacked crazily, it couldn't hold on for long. However, this time was enough. At this moment, Yaoshi had already finished dressing and flew to Knight Soro's side. Sensing the fluctuations in the void, she knew that Knight Soro had used some method to trap Chun Shuyue inside. She looked at Knight Soro with a hint of vigilance. Without a doubt, if Knight Soro was a threat to Chun Shuyue, he was a threat to her. At this moment, Yaoshi completely stopped looking down on Knight Soro. She said, "Thank you for your help today. I will keep my promise and help you snatch the letter. My name is Yaoshi. I am from Tianxian School." Although she knew that the other party knew her name, Yaoshi still introduced herself. This way, they could be considered acquaintances. Yaoshi, who was neatly dressed and wearing a white feather robe, instantly regained her usual otherworldly temperament. She had a coldness that kept people thousands of miles away. "My name is Knight Soro. I am an itinerant cultivator. I have not joined any sect or faction." Yaoshi was a little cold, but she didn't give people the feeling that she was cold and arrogant. Knight Soro nodded in response. An itinerant cultivator with no background actually has such strength? Hearing Knight Soro's words, Yaoshi was clearly a little surprised. She wanted to say something. Chapter 2506. She shattered the divine origin dragon locking formation that Knight Soro had constructed with his divine origin energy. Chun Shuyue, her face full of murderous intent, immediately recalled her red armillary sash across the air. Standing 150 kilometers away from Knight Soro in Yaoshi, she coldly threatened Knight Soro, "You'd better not be alone in the Jinyuan Divine Lord's abode. If I find a chance, I'll definitely kill you." With Knight Soro and Yaoshi standing together, Chun Shuyue naturally wouldn't choose to fight one against two. Thoughts of retreat sprouted in her heart. In the process of fighting Knight Soro, just now, she still had many tricks up her sleeve. If they met again, she was confident that she would make him suffer. "I'll be waiting for you." Knight Soro didn't take Chun Shuyue's threat seriously at all. She might be a bit stronger than him, but the possibility of her killing him in the Jinyuan Divine Lord's abode was next to nothing. "I didn't expect you, Fairy Yaoshi, who claims to be as pure as ice and as pure as jade, to have a lover now. We'll have plenty of time in the future." Before leaving, Chun Shuyue didn't forget to tease Yaoshi. In the face of Chun Shuyue's teasing, Yaoshi retorted sarcastically, "No matter what, it's better than being a nuisance like you. Let's wait and see." There was a story behind Yaoshi's words. Knight Soro didn't understand, but Chun Shuyue understood. Her face instantly turned ugly, and she left the forest after saying that. "Next, where does Fairy Yaoshi want to go?" Knight Soro immediately asked after Chun Shuyue left. "Now that you've offended Chun Shuyue, with her personality, she'll definitely keep following you and looking for an opportunity to attack. I'd better stay by your side. That way, I'll be able to look after you," Yaoshi said coldly. "If she is such a person, then what I want to do next will be difficult." Knight Soro carried the heavenly Samsara halberd on his back and tidied up his robe that was messy due to the battle. He continued, "According to reliable sources, in order to open the Bluestone Palace, one must kill a half-step Divine Lord Realm Bone Ape and obtain the relevant key. I want you to help me find some helpers to kill the Bone Ape." If he offended Chun Shuyue and was targeted by her, it was very likely that he would be ambushed by her if he fought with the Bone Ape. This was very dangerous. Now, even though Knight Soro had obtained the help of someone in the top 10 of the Feather Gods list, he had also offended someone who was as strong as her. Things had become difficult for him, and he needed to find more helpers. So this is the only way to enter the Bluestone Palace. No wonder no one could find the entrance to the palace. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Yaoshi suddenly understood. Out of respect, she did not ask about Knight Sorrow's sources. "Did you see Yun Tianyi in the cave?" Knight Sorrow asked. He knew that the people on the Feather Gods list were all relatively famous. Even though Yun Tianyi was ranked 100, Yaoshi had definitely heard of him. Yun Tianyi? I saw him fighting Yin Jianan outside the Bluestone Palace. His strength seemed to have increased quite a bit, but he was no match for Yin Jianan. He was severely injured in the battle. Yaoshi recounted what she had seen. For a period of time, many cultivators had gathered in front of the Bluestone Palace. At that time, many battles had occurred. In the end, he escaped. Knight Sorrow was worried that Yun Tianyi had been severely injured. After all, the two of them had entered the Genuine Divine Lord's cave together. They were partners who supported each other. At that time, he didn't escape. When he was severely injured and was about to be killed by Yin Jianan, a shadow with a powerful aura suddenly emerged from his body and injured Yin Jianan. In that battle, the two of them were evenly matched. After the battle, they left the Bluestone Palace's main entrance one after the other, Yaoshi said faintly. It seems that the blood essence of the Divine King he absorbed is not simple. In that case, the sacrifice back then was worth it. Knight Sorrow was very pleased that Yun Tianyi's strength had increased. As they walked out of the forest, he asked curiously, "Not many people know that the Genuine Divine Lord's cave has opened. How did you and Chun Shiyue get the news?" A smile appeared on Yaoshi's face when she heard that. She asked, "Do you know why we've been staying at the Divine Feather Realm?" "Why?" Knight Sorrow naturally knew more about this matter, but he could see that Yaoshi was implying something, so he let her continue. "Naturally, it's to cultivate the Feather God realm to perfection and lay a good foundation for the Divine King's path. Otherwise, with the talent of Chun Shiyue and I, we would probably be Divine Lords by now." Yaoshi explained, then continued, "After cultivating to our level, it's no longer possible to rely on cultivation to increase our strength. We can only look for opportunities everywhere. The appearance of the Genuine Divine Lord's cave naturally wouldn't be hidden from us. After all, many things in the divine realm can be calculated. So that's how it is. It seems that every expert on the Feather God list has the determination to break through to the Divine King or Sovereign level. I really envy experts like you who can break through to the High God realm at any time." What Yishan lacked the most right now was cultivation. He couldn't help but sigh. What others needed was to accumulate a foundation, but what he needed was the cultivation that others didn't care about the least. "I really envy you. You're already so strong as a mid-level Feather God." Yaoshi, who felt that Knight Sorrow had great potential, was very envious of him. The two chatted as they walked in the direction of the Bluestone Palace. Knight Sorrow decided to find Yun Tianyi first, then discuss how to deal with the Bone Ape. Because Knight Sorrow had the Sea Serpent's eye, they didn't accidentally enter any formations along the way. Soon, they arrived in front of the Bluestone Palace. The palace door couldn't be opened, and there was no one guarding it. When they got close, Yaoshi pointed at a blood-stained area in front of the door and said, "That's where Yun Tianyi and Yin Jianan fought. Let's go take a look and see if we can find any clues." "Yes, that's the only way." Knight Sorrow nodded, then went to the area where the two fought and observed. After watching for a while, he sighed and said, "You've improved a lot. I wonder where you went." "Brother Yi, it's great to see that you're fine." Unexpectedly, just as Knight Sorrow spoke, Yun Tianyi's figure appeared in the sky in the distance. He stood in the sky and saw Knight Sorrow at the entrance of the palace. He immediately flew down. "Is this sister-in-law?" Yun Tianyi glanced at Yaoshi and saw a beautiful woman standing beside Knight Sorrow. He immediately asked this question. After blurting out this sentence, he finally realized who it was. Wasn't this beautiful woman in front of him Yaoshi, who was ranked 9th on the Feather God list, along with Chun Shiyue? "This is Yaoshi," and this is Yun Tianyi. Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi knew each other, but they didn't really know each other. Knight Sorrow introduced them. He then explained, Yao Shi and I are friends who have just met. Oh, so that's how it is. Yun Tianyi had naturally heard of Fairy Yao Shi's name, so he didn't say anything rash. Then he said, Brother Yi, now that we can't enter the Bluestone Palace, what should we do? There's a way to enter the Bluestone Palace, and that is to kill the half-step divine Lord Skeletal Ape and obtain the key to open the door. Knight Sorrow explained the matter of the Skeletal Ape and asked for their opinions. I think that the three of us already have the strength to challenge the Skeletal Ape. Why don't we try it now? What do you think? Okay, we could take revenge on it. Hearing that there was a way to open the Bluestone Palace, Yun Tianyi immediately became excited. His strength had increased greatly, and so had his confidence. With our strength, we might be able to fight the Skeletal Ape, but if Chun Chiyu ambushes us, it will be very difficult. Yao Shi, on the other hand, voiced her concerns. She knew Chan Xiuyue's personality very well. She was the kind of person who would never give up. That's a problem. Why don't we? After pondering for a moment, Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi. Okay, that works. Chapter 25:07. Knight Sorrow's plan was very simple. Didn't Chun Xiuyue like to stick around and stalk people? Then they would set up a trap to lure her in. They would challenge the half-step divine Lord Bone Ape and then pretend to be injured. They would then shake off the Bone Ape and escape into the array formation on the plain. Doing this would be very difficult for others. But Knight Sorrow had the Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array and could temporarily restrain the Bone Ape. Moreover, he could use the Clam Dragon Eye to choose a suitable array formation. As long as the array formation was good enough to conceal its aura, they could successfully shake it off. However, he had an ulterior motive. Getting rid of the Bone Ape was not his real goal. If Chun Xiuyue was secretly observing them, she would definitely choose to do something bad and lead the Bone Ape to the array formation they were in. If that happened, Chun Xiuyue would be exposed. She would no longer be in the dark while Knight Sorrow and the others would be in the light. If the two of you don't have any objections, then let's do it like this. After explaining his plan, Knight Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the two of them. The play must be realistic, but make sure you don't get heavily injured. It's fine as long as it looks miserable. Once Chin Xiuyue comes out, don't hesitate and immediately attack. If they wanted to kill the half-step divine Lord Bone Ape and obtain the key to the Stone Palace, they had to deal with Chun Xiuyue. Since they had decided on a plan, Knight Sorrow was prepared to cut the Gordian knot and immediately take action. Okay, I feel that although this plan is simple, Chun Xiuyue will definitely fall for it. Yao Shi thought for a moment, then coldly said, What if there are others? In addition, the Bone Ape itself is a problem that needs to be considered. She naturally carried a trace of coldness and ethereal aura, but she was still rather easygoing. Just adapt to the situation. In this cave, I should be able to trap anyone. Knight Sorrow replied confidently. His divine essence dragon lock array could indeed trap any feather god. It was just that the time it could trap them was different. In addition, he could see through all the array formations on the plain. This was a great advantage. As for the Bone Ape, it was a double-edged sword that was not easy to control. Since it was difficult to control, there was no need to think too much about it. The battle was over. After all, they had the same chance as Chun Xiuyue when facing the Bone Ape. Well, since that's the case, let's take action immediately. Yao Shi felt that Knight Sorrow was bold and meticulous. There was no problem with this plan, so she suggested that they take action. At this time, knowing some of Knight Sorrow's means and his great potential, Yao Shi had already regarded him as an existence similar to her own. In the area dominated by the Dark Moon, this was the second feather god who was recognized by her. As for Yun Tianyi, although her strength had increased after she rashly absorbed the Divine King's blood essence, she was more focused on Knight Sorrow. Naturally, there was no problem for him. Let's go and find the bone ape. Now, everything was ready except for the bone ape. Night Sorrow said and took the lead. His sea serpents I could see through many arrays, but he pretended to fall into them a few times and spent about a month. This was to exhaust Chun Chiuyue's patience and to dispel some of her doubts. About 3 months later, the three of them found the bone ape in a huge collapsed rift valley. At this time, the bone ape was wandering aimlessly in the rift valley. From time to time, it would hit the ground with its fists violently, causing the surroundings to tremble. The rift valley occupied by the bone ape covered a large area. It was about 20,000 miles wide and hundreds of thousands of miles long. Most of the area was desolate and cracked brown land. There were some hills and forests in a few areas. Apart from the bone ape, there were no other skeletal puppet creatures. Obviously, they were either killed or scared away by it. There doesn't seem to be any arrays in this valley. I'll lure it up. Let's test its strength first. After observing the valley for a while, Night Sorrow looked at Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi beside him and flew towards the bone ape. When they were about 5,000 miles away, Night Sorrow waved the Samsara halberd in midair and used the Inferno demon slaying technique. In an instant, a large flame covered the entire area within 5,000 miles of where the bone ape was. Oh, the bone ape, which was suddenly burned by the flame, immediately hammered its chest angrily. Then, it chased after Night Sorrow, half running and half jumping. Human cultivator, die. Although the bone ape wasn't flying, it was very fast. It didn't take long for it to catch up with Night Sorrow. When they were about 2,000 miles away, it suddenly let out a wild roar. This was a sound wave attack. The word die was like a heavy hammer that bombarded Night Sorrow's head. He suddenly felt dizzy, as if his head was about to explode. Although his soul was strong, Night Sorrow still needed a while to recover from the absent-mindedness. In this way, the bone ape's next close-range attack had already arrived. It jumped up, raised its fists in the air, and smashed down heavily. Samsara Spear. In the face of this attack, Night Sorrow immediately used the Essence Chi Smoke Beacon, the star's tyrannical body, and the power of merit. He used the Samsara halberd to use the Samsara Strike. This move immediately weakened the bone ape's attack. However, last time, Night Sorrow's bones were all broken by the bone ape's foot. He didn't dare to take it head-on. After reducing the bone ape's attack, he didn't hesitate to use the Divine Origin Dragon-Locking Array. The Divine Origin Dragon-Locking Array isolated the ferocious bone ape in midair. The Divine Origin Dragon-Locking Array only trapped the bone ape for less than 5 breaths before it was completely shattered. However, Night Sorrow had already escaped from the Rift Valley and returned to the plains. Beside him, Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi were already prepared. At this time, Night Sorrow's divine soul was only a little shaken, but he wasn't seriously injured. However, he still pretended to be seriously injured and spat out a lot of blood. This blood contained the remains of his shattered lungs. Then he asked Yun Tianyi for 2 elixirs and swallowed them. It's coming. Watch me. Night Sorrow pretended to be injured. Yun Tianyi understood tacitly and shot out sword light to meet the bone ape. After absorbing the Divine King's blood essence, his strength had increased greatly. The strength of his aura was about the same as Huang Lai and Yun Tsamping. However, it was naturally impossible to stop the half-step divine Lord Realm Bone Ape with just this little bit of strength. Soon, the bone ape let out another roar and rushed over. Even Night Sorrow didn't dare to take the bone ape's attack head-on. Yun Tianyi was even more afraid. When he saw the bone ape chasing after him, he immediately retreated. At this time, Yao Shi, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, began to silently recite an incantation. She also took out a bronze bell from her waist. The bronze bell was activated by the incantation and immediately emitted Sanskrit sounds. These Sanskrit sounds seemed to turn into a line that constantly shot towards the bone ape and slowed it down. This way, Yun Tianyi was able to safely escape. Careful! The bone ape didn't chase after Yun Tianyi. It immediately chased after Yao Shi. Just like how it dealt with Night Sorrow, it jumped into the air and smashed down with its fists. Frost Brow Sword. Facing the Bone Ape's violent attack, Yao Shi, Night Sorrow, and Yin Tianyi made different choices. After she activated her God domain, she used the High God Taboo Divine Artifact, Frost Brow Sword, to take the Bone Ape's attack head-on. Careful, the Bone Ape's attack isn't simple. Chapter 25:08. The last time, Night Sorrow was trampled by the Bone Ape, nearly ending up with the outcome of being smashed to smithereens. He was somewhat apprehensive of the Bone Ape's close-range attacks. Seeing that Yao Shi actually chose to receive this move head-on, he was naturally incomparably worried, afraid that she would suffer very serious injuries accidentally. If she was seriously injured, this time, it might really let Qinshiyue find an opportunity. Rumble. The Bone Ape's movements were extremely fast. Yao Shi was also the same. Night Sorrow wanted to stop it, but it was naturally too late. In a blink of an eye, one person and one ape collided together. This time, it was indeed the Bone Ape that took the advantage, blasting the ground where Yao Shi was at until it caved in. For some time, it shook the surrounding several 100,000 miles until it shook nonstop. Yao Shi, are you all right? Smoke and dust billowed in the deep pit. At the same time that Night Sorrow used divine soul power to investigate, he transmitted his voice to Yao Shi to confirm her condition. I'm fine. My injuries aren't serious. But just nice, I can pretend to be seriously injured. My Frost Brow Folding Sword is known to cut through all men in the divine world. It never retreats in battle. If it retreats, it will affect the sword's spirit. In the process of transmitting, Yao Shi explained why she forcefully withstood this attack. So that's how it is. Didn't expect that a person from a painting like you would actually be so domineering when fighting. After praising Night Sorrow, his hands were not idle. He fired out the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, temporarily trapping the Bone Ape, creating an opportunity for Yao Shi to escape. Thank you. This Bone Ape is rather hard to deal with. Probing slightly, Yao Shi discovered that this half-step Divine Lord Realm Bone Ape was seriously not easy to deal with to them, these feather gods. No worries. Although this Bone Ape's strength is formidable, its intelligence isn't high. This is its greatest weakness. As long as our tactics are reasonable, there's a chance to kill it. At present, it's still taking care of Chun Shiyue first. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Yao Shi and shouted, Yao Shi is injured. Yin Tianyi, take her away. We can't fight this Bone Ape. We have to retreat immediately. Yao Shi took the Bone Ape's attack head-on. This was not fake at all, and the effect was already evident. Even Night Sorrow was unable to determine the extent of Yao Shi's injuries. He felt that this was enough. Alas, it seems that the key to the Bluestone Palace is not fated to be with us. This trip to the cave has come to an end. Yin Tianyi, who was protecting Yao Shi, shouted out the lines that Night Sorrow had designed. Their retreat route was in the opposite direction of the Bluestone Palace. This was the way back. Hee, Yao Shi, stop pretending. You just want to trick me into coming out. Your Majesty is here. What can you do? At this moment, to their surprise, Chun Shiyue actually chose to show herself. She actually came out? Chun Shiyue's sudden appearance surprised Night Sorrow, who was luring the Bone Ape away. At this moment, he realized that he had underestimated the courage of the top 10 experts on the God of Feathers list. Whether it was Yao Shi, who took the Bone Ape's attack head-on, or Chun Shiyue, who appeared now, they both seemed to be people with courage. They could be considered as women who did not lose out to men. Since you've come out, then die. Yao Shi, who was still brooding over the naked battle, immediately waved her Frost Brow sword and attacked Chun Shiyue when she saw her appear. Io, are you unable to restrain your anger because you thought of the naked battle? Don't be afraid. Night Sorrow did not use the image stone to record it. This matter will not spread in the God realm. Chun Shiyue did not forget to mock Yao Shi as she activated her God realm and blocked the attack with her red armillary sash. You deserve to die. Chen Shuyue had brought up her sore spot, and Yao Shi's face, which had already been somewhat cold, was immediately covered in frost. She used her ultimate skill right away. Brow, overturning sea sword. In an instant, the void was like a sea that had exploded. Countless ripples surged out and attacked Chen Shuyue. Haha, didn't you just let a man see your body? Do you have to fight so hard? Chen Shuyue and Yao Shi were both ranked 9th on the God of Feathers list. Naturally, they were not afraid of Yao Shi using her ultimate technique. As the battle continued, she asked, "Was what Yin Tianyi said the truth? As long as we kill the bone ape, we can obtain the key to the stone palace, right? You're about to die. Why are you still asking these questions? Yin Tianyi, what are you doing in a daze? Come and help." At this moment, Night Sorrow was luring the bone ape away. Only Yin Tianyi was free. Yao Shi immediately asked him to help. "Okay, coming. Chen Shuyue's words were very explosive. Yin Tianyi was still digesting them. Yishang had seen the body of fairy Yao Shi, who was said to be as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Wasn't this a little too shocking? When he heard Yao Shi's call, he immediately activated his God Realm and activated his ultimate technique, the non-phase sword array. Although he was not as strong as Yao Shi and Chen Shuyue, the attack power of the sword array was not low. It immediately posed a threat to Chen Shuyue. This half-step Divine Lord Realm Bone Ape is much stronger than an ordinary half-step Divine Lord Realm Cultivator. In particular, the strength of its body can even compare to some Divine Lords. With just the 3 of you, it is impossible to kill it. If Yin Tianyi's words are true, your Majesty is willing to cooperate with you to kill it. As for our feud, we'll settle it in the Stone Palace. Chunxia, who was being attacked by the 2 of them, continued to speak while defending herself. "We don't need your help. As long as we kill you and don't let you get in the way, it's fine." Yao Shi rejected Chen Shuyue's suggestion without hesitation. She cultivated the Frost Brow sword. She was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. She could not tolerate sand in her eyes. Seeing that the 2 of them were still attacking her, Chen Shuyue was gradually unable to resist. She shouted, "Yin Jianan, come out and help me block Yin Tianyi." "Okay, Fairy Shuyue." Upon hearing Chen Shuyue's call, Yin Jianan immediately flew over from tens of thousands of miles away to block Yin Tianyi. His strength was originally stronger than Yin Tianyi. He had only been injured by the Phantom that day. Now that they were fighting, he quickly gained the upper hand. "Yin Tianyi, oh Yin Tianyi, you fused with the blood essence of the Divine King, but you're still so trashy. What a waste. Why don't I kill you today and refine you into an elixir? I don't believe that the powerhouse in your body will come out to save you every time." Yin Jianan, who had suppressed Yin Tianyi, had a disdainful look on his face. "What do you have to be arrogant about? You're just a loser." Just when Yin Tianyi didn't know how to refute, Night Sorrow, who had temporarily lured the bone ape away, returned to the battle. Without any hesitation, he directly used the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation to fix Yin Jianan in it. Then, he used the Samsara Halberd to attack with the Samsara Strike. Yin Jianan, who was trapped in the enclosed space, had no chance to dodge at all. He was hit hard by this move. His aura immediately dropped by a level. Night Sorrow discovered that he could attack opponents in the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation when he lured the bone ape away. Now, he was using it on Yin Jianan. "Yin Tianyi, I'll leave him to you. I'll go help Yao Shi." Chapter 2509. Night Sorrow was obviously stronger than Yin Tianyi and had more tricks up his sleeve. After he joined the battle, Chen Shuyue was quickly suppressed. "You're dead meat." Yao Shi continuously slashed with her Frost Brow sword, together with the bronze bell at her waist and Night Sorrow's attacks. Chen Shuyue was completely at a disadvantage. She didn't even have the ability to fight back. "Hee, I'm no match for you. But if you want to kill me, that's impossible." Chun Shiyue, who was completely suppressed, had no ability to fight back. At this moment, she took out a crystal-clear jade talisman and scolded, "Both of you, stop immediately. Otherwise, I'll immediately use the talisman in my hand." This jade talisman was a Sir God-level talisman. The aura that flowed around it made Knight Sorrow feel as though he was being locked on by an ancient beast. Chun Shiyue, don't think that you're the only one with a life-saving talisman. Knight Sorrow couldn't do anything against the Sir God-level talisman. Yaoshi wasn't afraid. She also took out a jade talisman, which was also at the Sir God level. It was obvious that they were all outstanding existences in their sex, and they all had life-saving items on them. These two jade talismans were made by invincible Sir God-level talismans. They were similar in power to the one Knight Sorrow used to strengthen the Dark Demon Seal in the Endless Bone region. This kind of power was completely destructive to a feather god. Why? Do you think I don't dare? My life in exchange for yours is definitely worth it. Chun Shiyue replied to Yao Shi, not to be outdone. After taking out her life-saving talisman, she was fearless. If you dare, then do it. Yao Shi wasn't afraid at all. If there's no deep hatred between the two of you, I think it's better for us to talk. Yao Shi and Chun Shiyue were at daggers drawn. If they were to use the invincible divine, Lord's divine talisman here, the immense power would very likely blow apart the seal on the soul-devouring beast clan in the divine Lord Jin Yuan's cave abode. In this way, not only would they die, but High Bay City would also suffer. Knight Sorrow naturally didn't want to see this happen, so he immediately tried to persuade her. That's right. Let me ask you, as long as we kill the bone ape, we can open the door to the Bluestone Palace, right? After Knight Sorrow spoke, Yao Shi put down the talisman in her hand. Chun Shiyue also put away the talisman and asked the same question again. That should be the case. Knight Sorrow nodded and did not deny it. On the other side, Yin Jianan and Yun Tianyi separated again when they saw the three of them stop fighting. Yin Jianan stood behind Chun Shiyue, while Yun Tianyi returned to Knight Sorrow's side. If that's the case, why don't we work together to kill it? As for our competition, we can continue after we enter the Bluestone Palace. How about that? Chun Shiyue said and added, if you don't agree, I'll use the divine talisman immediately and choose to die together. However, if we can successfully enter the Bluestone Palace, I can swear that I won't use the life-saving talisman in the cave abode again. Let's study it. Knight Sorrow felt that this matter was acceptable, but he didn't agree directly. He called Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi together and studied it. Yun Tianyi naturally didn't want to be killed by the divine talisman, so she chose to cooperate with them. Chun Shiyue is crazy. She could do anything. We can only choose to cooperate with her this time. Yao Shi, who was discussing things with Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi, didn't have the irrational look she had when she confronted Chun Shiyue. She had a bright future. Although she would rather break than bend, she didn't want to die without knowing why. Since both of you have made such a choice, I naturally agree. We'll attack them after we enter the Bluestone Palace. As long as Chun Shiyue doesn't use the divine talisman, we have the ability to suppress her. Knight Sorrow had absolute confidence in his own strength. At this time, Yao Shi said with some worry, I know Chun Shiyue. She said that she won't use the divine talisman, which seems to be a concession, but in fact, she wants me to swear that I won't use the divine talisman. She probably found a very strong helper and has the confidence to defeat us. It doesn't matter. I think as long as we cooperate well, we can defeat any kind of feather god. I still have a trump card that I haven't used yet. In response, Knight Sorrow just smiled. In the process of luring the bone ape away, he had no choice but to come up with a new plan. Even the bone ape fell for it, and it was effective against any feather god cultivator. Since you're so confident, we'll choose to cooperate with them. Yao Shi knew that Knight Sorrow was the feather god of merit. He definitely wouldn't speak carelessly, so she nodded in agreement. Afterward, Yao Shi acted as the representative to communicate with Chun Shiyue. They both swore that when they entered the Bluestone Palace, neither the two of them nor the others beside them would use the divine talisman. Since we've agreed, Let's act immediately. After swearing the heavenly Tao oath, Chun Shiyue immediately said, "It'll be very difficult for us to kill the bone ape with our attacks. I have a half-step divine lord talisman here. As long as we use it well, we can severely injure it. After that, we'll use our own methods. We'll exhaust it to death. All right, I have one here as well. We can use it together." Yaoshi wasn't stingy either. She took out another talisman from her bosom. As the two beauties of the Dark Moon Divine Realm, she and Chun Shiyue were important targets of the sect protection. They were much richer than Night Sorrow. Seeing the talismans they took out, Night Sorrow thought that he had to find a way to get a few after leaving the cave. They were definitely life-saving weapons. This time, let's attack together and kill it in the Rift Valley. The half-step Divine Lord Skeletal Ape was obviously a test left behind by the Divine Lord Jinyuan. After discussing the strategy, Night Sorrow said this and led the way to the Rift Valley. He had lured the bone ape to a hilly area in the Rift Valley and trapped it there. All right, let's follow. Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi immediately followed. Chun Shiyue and Yin Jianan looked at each other and followed. Not long after, the five of them found the bone ape and fought it. Not long after the battle began, Chun Shiyue used a half-step Divine Lord Talisman and injured the arrogant bone ape. The injured bone ape had become extremely ferocious. It fought with the group like a madman. But after a while, it was injured by the talisman Yao Shi threw out. Its injury was even more serious. Soon, it was completely suppressed by Night Sorrow and the rest. Logically speaking, the battle should have ended very quickly. But when the bone ape was about to be killed, a phantom of the divine Lord Jinyuan suddenly appeared and healed the bone ape's injury. He said to the group, "The bone ape is a test for you. You must kill it with your own strength. Only then will the door of the green stone palace open." Divine Lord, seeing the phantom of the divine Lord Jinyuan again, Yin Tianyi, the only one present who was from Haibei City, was very excited. She bowed to him. In response, the phantom of the divine Lord Jinyuan smiled and said, "Don't tarnish the reputation of Haibei City." After saying that, he completely disappeared from the world. Then, the five of them started fighting the bone ape again. Chapter 25:10. What's going on? The skeletal ape has become so strong, and its aura is constantly rising. If this continues, it will probably advance to the monarch god realm. During the battle, Chun Shiyue noticed that the skeletal ape's aura was getting stronger and stronger. She couldn't help but say worriedly, the skeletal ape was already so difficult to deal with now. If it advanced to the monarch god realm, then they would never be able to obtain the key to the Greenstone Palace. The good things in the cave abode were most likely in the Greenstone Palace. How could she bear to give them up? It must be because we used the divine talisman to defeat the skeletal ape. Therefore, the monarch god increased the difficulty of the test. Yao Shi, who had just used the frost brow sword to perform the brow sea overturning sword, realized that her attack didn't have any effect. She was also shocked by the skeletal ape's strength. Yin Tianyi and Yin Jianan's faces turned even uglier. The two of them were weaker and didn't dare to get within 10,000 miles of the skeletal ape. If they got too close to the skeletal ape, they would be suppressed by the deity domain and unable to move. If the skeletal ape gave up on Night Sorrow, Chun Shiyue, and Yao Shi and turned to attack one of them, no matter which one it attacked, they would be killed instantly. The skeletal ape's aura is rising very quickly. We have to kill it quickly. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Night Sorrow, who was cooperating with Yao Shi and Chun Shiyue to wear down the skeletal ape from a distance, also realized the seriousness of the situation. He shouted, "At this point, don't hold back anymore. Attack the skeletal ape with all your might. I will trap it. Also, if you can contact any friends, do it quickly. The skeletal ape is too strong. We can only rely on our advantage in numbers. I came alone, but from now on, I will give it my all." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yaoshi was the first to speak. She had indeed entered the cave abode alone. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been tricked by Chun Chiyue. Those who came in with me are all ants. Yin Jianan, who was tens of thousands of miles away from the skeletal ape, shook his head and said he had come with Ming Yu and the others. Those few did not have much battle power and were currently hiding in a spirit design. Even if they were called over, they would not be able to help. Yin Tianyi came together with Night Sorrow, so she couldn't call for help. However, she was communicating with the Divine King of the Cloud Wilderness in her body to see if he had any ideas. However, she didn't get a response for the time being. Sigh. Nie Qingping, come out. When it was Chun Shiyue's turn, she sighed unwillingly and called out a name. Nie Qingping. He was the third strongest cultivator in the Divine Feather Realm in the Dark Moon region, ranked 16th on the Divine Feather list. Although he was slightly weaker than Shuang Jiao, he was still the strongest male cultivator in the Dark Moon region. Chun Shiyue, so you came with Nie Qingping. No wonder you're so confident that you won't use your talisman again. Seeing Nie Qingping appear, Yaoshi's face suddenly became serious. Chun Shiyue, Nie Qingping, and Yin Jianan were the first, third, and fifth strongest cultivators in the Divine Feather Realm in the Dark Moon region. No one dared to underestimate such a combination. At this point, she was very glad that she met Night Sorrow. Otherwise, with her own strength, she wouldn't be able to compete with Chun Shiyue and the others. Fair Yaoshi, long time no see. You're still as elegant as ever, but your strength doesn't seem to have improved. After Nie Qingping's figure appeared in front of everyone, he immediately greeted Yaoshi. There was a hint of provocation in his tone. He had once pursued Yaoshi, but she had mercilessly rejected him. That incident had made him hold a grudge. Now that he was teaming up with Chun Shiyue, Nie Qingping felt that victory was in his hands. What does my strength have to do with you? If you want to enter the Greenstone Palace, then hurry up and attack. Yaoshi's face was grim as she continued to fight with the skeletal ape. At this moment, Night Sorrow was constantly using the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation to imprison the skeletal ape and create opportunities for the cultivators present to attack. At first, the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation could only restrain the skeletal ape for 2 to 3 breaths. Later on, it could only slow down its speed temporarily. Under Night Sorrow's delay, whether it was attacking Yaoshi or Chun Chiyue, the skeletal ape was always a little slower at the critical moment. The two girls relied on the powerful attack power of their divine weapons to constantly exhaust the skeletal ape, making it very uncomfortable. Wait until we enter the palace. Yaoshi completely ignored Nie Qingping. This made his expression immediately turn ugly, but he still charged into the battle without hesitation. He attacked the insufferably arrogant bone ape. However, after using the divine weapon Qingping Halberd to attack the skeletal ape 5 to 6 times, Nie Qingping realized that there was no effect at all. The skeletal ape's defense is so shocking. How can feather gods like us fight against it? I think Sir Gajin Yuan is purposely not letting us enter the Greenstone Palace. Nie Qingping immediately questioned when his continuous attacks on the skeletal ape did not have any effect at all. He felt that although he did not use his full strength, it was definitely abnormal that he could not even break through the skeletal ape's defense. The Sir God must have his reasons for doing so. If we can't forcefully attack, then we will think of other ways. Night Sorrow immediately retorted when he heard Nie Qingping questioning Sir Gajin Yuan. Sir Gajin Yuan had suppressed the entire soul-devouring beast clan with his own strength. How could he fathom his strength? There must be a reason for such an arrangement. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk back to me, Nie Qingping? You must be tired of living. Nie Qingping was ranked 3rd among the feather gods in the dominating area of the Dark Moon. In his eyes, there were only Yao Shi and Chun Shiyue. Night Sorrow only replied normally, and he retorted with disdain. He was very arrogant. You can't even break through the skeletal ape's defense. What are you pretending for? If you have the ability to kill the skeletal ape, then let's go to the Green Stone Palace to fight. Yao Shi and Chun Shuyue could break through the skeletal ape's defense and exhaust it with their full strength. However, Nie Qingping could not do that. It was completely useless. Knight Sorrow retorted without hesitation after being provoked. Why do we need to go to the Green Stone Palace? It's the same if I kill you here. Nie Qingping, who was only 2,000 to 3,000 miles away from Knight Sorrow, suddenly attacked with his halberd and went straight for Knight Sorrow's head. His sneak attack was very sudden and no one present expected it. Nie Qingping, stop! Knight Sorrow was the key to fighting against the skeletal ape. Seeing Nie Qingping attack, even Chun Shuyue could not help but scold him. You're courting death. After being attacked by Nie Qingping at close range, Knight Sorrow could no longer use the Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array. He immediately used the Void Escape technique and dodged the halberd. Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array. After dodging Nie Qingping's sneak attack, Knight Sorrow immediately used the Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array to control him. Then, he used the Samsara Halberd to attack with the Samsara Strike. Nie Qingping, who was imprisoned in the enclosed space, could not dodge this attack at all. His aura was immediately reduced greatly. Raging flames subdued demons. Forbidden Spear. After succeeding in his attack, Knight Sorrow did not hesitate to use the Samsara Halberd to attack the trapped Nie Qingping. Nie Qingping's sneak attack, when everyone was fighting against the skeletal ape, touched Knight Sorrow's bottom line. Damn it, what kind of technique is this? After being trapped by Knight Sorrow's Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array and being hit by the Samsara Spear, his aura was greatly reduced. After being hit by the Forbidden Spear and Raging Flames subdued demons consecutively, Nie Qingping, who was almost half dead, immediately cursed in the enclosed space. This was the first time he met an opponent with such strange techniques and was not used to it. Damn it! Break for me! Nie Qingping, who was using the Qingping Halberd to attack the enclosed space, was sure that he would not be able to break out of the array in a short time. Chapter 2511. You're quite rich. You actually used a Divine Talisman. Seeing Nie Qingping use a half-step Divine Lord Divine Talisman to blast open the sealed space, Knight Sorrow cast the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array again, without a word, imprisoning Nie Qingping once again. Each time he cast the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, it did not consume much Divine Essence energy, but it had to be combined with soul strength to cast, so he could only set up one at a time. But dealing with Nie Qingping, one was naturally enough. He was not afraid, no matter how many half-step Divine Lord Divine Talismans he had in his hands. F***CK. Imprisoned in the sealed space once again, Nie Qingping was completely speechless. His Divine Talisman was a one-time consumable item. Discovering that Knight Sorrow could continuously set up formations, how could he bear to use it again? He kept casting all sorts of mystic arts and ultimate skills, only hoping to escape quickly. Knight Sorrow, hurry up and save him. Originally, Knight Sorrow was prepared to continue attacking Nie Qingping and kill him directly. But at this time, Yao Shi suddenly shouted. At this time, the bone ape that broke free was charging crazily at Yin Tianyi. Under the interference of its divine domain, Yin Tianyi could no longer move. If no one saved him, he would die without a doubt. Merit Dragon Locking Array. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow was clear that just casting the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array could no longer stop the bone ape. He immediately used the power of Merit to replace Divine Essence energy and cast the Merit Dragon Locking Array. This move, Knight Sorrow used it once when luring the bone ape away. His power of Merit was already at peak Feather God Realm, while his Divine Essence energy was only at middle rank Feather God Realm. The difference between the two was huge. Using the power of Merit to cast a trapping array, the effect was much better. This was also the reason why he had the confidence to resist all the Feather Gods in the Bluestone Palace. Let's run. the matter of resisting the bone ape, we'll think about it at length. According to Knight Sorrow's judgment, wanting to kill the bone ape with their strength was clearly not too likely. He flew to Yin Tiany's side, saved him, and flew directly into the distance. Yaoshi followed closely behind. Because Chun Shiyue's forces had obviously grown stronger, her cooperation with Knight Sorrow had obviously become closer. Chun Shiyue and Ye Qingping, who had just escaped, looked at each other. Then, together with Yin Jianan, they followed behind the three of them. Taking advantage of the fact that the bone ape was locked up, everyone quickly flew away from the scene. When they reached the platform at the entrance of the Bluestone Palace, Knight Sorrow stopped and put Yin Tiany down. At this time, Yin Tiany was gradually recovering. The bone ape's deity domain had suppressed him too miserably. Looking at Nye Qingping, who was following behind him, Knight Sorrow raised his samsara halberd and said, "Everyone is trying their best to fight against the bone ape, but you sneakily attacked me from behind. Let's talk about this now. Knight Sorrow, don't push me too far. I, Nye Qingping, am not as skilled as you. But if you don't stop, don't blame me for using a divine lord-level talisman." Thinking of Knight Sorrow's virtuous dragon-locking formation that restrained the bone ape, Nye Qingping completely lost the courage to fight. He took out a talisman to deter him. He couldn't break Knight Sorrow's trap formation. Even if he fought 100 times, he would be beaten passively. Nye Qingping, put away the talisman. I'll help you solve this matter. Seeing Nye Qingping take out a divine lord-level talisman, Chun Shiyue immediately stopped him. After all, she had already made a heavenly oath that the people around her wouldn't use talismans. She couldn't easily break her promise. She looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "We're temporarily in a cooperative relationship. In my opinion, it's best for you to turn this matter into a small one. After all, everyone still needs to find a way to deal with the bone ape. Although Nye Qingping isn't as strong as you, he's still very strong. He could be of great help." Chun Shiyue was very wary of Knight Sorrow's ability to use the power of merit to set up a formation. She spoke much more politely. Originally, she was the same as Nye Qingping. She looked down on Knight Sorrow and felt that she could crush him to death with a stretch of her hand. But now, things were very different. I was ambushed for no reason. I can't let this matter rest. Knight Sorrow didn't compromise in front of Chun Shiyue. As he spoke, Yao Shi and Yun Tiany stood beside him. He was wrong to ambush you. We're willing to compensate you, but you have to promise that you won't pursue this matter before entering the Bluestone Palace. How about it? Chun Shiyue was clearly very concerned about entering the Bluestone Palace. She immediately compromised. Chun Shiyue might have a special need for something in the Bluestone Palace. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so easy to talk to. Yaoshi knew Chun Shiyue very well. When she saw her compromise, she immediately transmitted her voice. She chose to compromise. We can demand an exorbitant price. Okay, I know. Knight Sorrow knew that Chun Shiyue had chosen to compromise so easily. She definitely had some ulterior motives. He thought for a moment and said, "It's fine if you're willing to compensate. Ask Nye Qingping to compensate me with the monarch-level talisman, and this matter will be over." What? You want the monarch-level talisman? Dream on. Believe it or not, I'll blast you to death right now. Hearing Knight Sorrow directly ask for the monarch-level talisman, Nye Qingping immediately flew into a rage. This was his life-saving talisman. He wouldn't give it away no matter what. Who do you think you are? You're just a loser. You don't have the right to speak to me. Knight Sorrow didn't change anything. He returned Nye Qingping's words to him, then ignored him. He looked at Chun Shiyue and said, "What do you say? You're clearly demanding an exorbitant price. Nye Qingping naturally can't give you something that can save his life." Chun Shiyue's face was filled with anger. She calmed down and said, "We can give you a half-step monarch-level talisman. This is already the biggest concession we can make. If you're still not satisfied, then we can only end our cooperation and fight you. Although I said that I won't use the talisman again, you're definitely not my match. Zhuaheng, come out and meet us." As soon as Chun Chiuyue spoke, a figure flew down from the top of the Bluestone Palace. Zhua Heng, ranked 19th on the God of Feathers list. You've also joined Chun Chiuyue's side. Yaoxi's expression changed when she saw Zhua Heng. Zhua Heng was ranked 19th on the God of Feathers list and 4th in the Dark Moon region. Even he had been invited by Chun Chiuyue. Now, Chun Chiuyue's lineup was ranked 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the Dark Moon region. This lineup could be said to be extremely luxurious. At this point, Yaoxi was somewhat relieved that she had met Night's Sorrow. At the same time, she was also a bit scared. 3 half-step monarch-level talismans. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Yaoxi transmitted her voice to Night's Sorrow to inform him of Zhua Heng's situation. Night's Sorrow's expression didn't change as he continued to ask for compensation. It was obviously impossible for him to ask for a monarch-level talisman. His goal was 3 half-step monarch-level talismans. All right, 3 then. But I hope you can do your best to think of a way to kill the bone ape. Nie Qingping originally wanted a bargain, but Chun Chiuyue indicated that there was no need. She took out 3 half-step monarch-level talismans and handed them to Night's Sorrow. She had clearly made ample preparations for this trip to the cave. Okay, Night's Sorrow was quite satisfied with obtaining 3 half-step monarch-level talismans. He kept 2 and handed 1 to Yin Tianyi, saying, "Keep it to save your life." He looked at the others and said, "Actually, I asked everyone to retreat because I suddenly had an idea." "What idea? Don't keep us in suspense." Chun Chiuyue immediately scolded. "I just trapped Nie Qingping and used the Samsara Strike to weaken his cultivation. I immediately thought of a similar method to weaken the bone ape's strength." That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.